weak website? It could be a superstar. We do A/B testing, personalisation, social proof, product recommendations, baseline analysis to bring your bottom line over the line. Visit webtrends-optimise.com or call 0333 444 5502 today.
a very good afternoon and welcome to Hove for the latest instalment of T20 Blast Cricket. My name is Adrian Harms from BBC Radio Sussex. We generally do a little sound check around the ground to make sure that we are going, and there we are. I think that could be my good friend Tim, who's waving from the back of the Spenkarma Pavilion furiously. So the good news is that we are going out around the ground. We're also out on the Sussex live stream as well. You may be watching us via the pictures. You may be listening via the BBC website. Wherever you're listening to us from, a very good afternoon, from a beautiful afternoon here at Hove. Lots of blue sky around, and we're going to start on time, which is the great news. Generally speaking, we ask for a bit of interaction, emails and the like, but there really isn't time during T20, so we'll just commentate away and hopefully bring you a terrific game of cricket. I'm Adrian Harms, delighted as ever to see Ed Seaborn from BBC Radio Gloucestershire and BBC Bristol. Ed, lovely to see you.
Yeah, it's lovely to be here. I mean, it's always fantastic to be on the South Coast, and I think I've only ever been here once when there's even been any rain, and even then we had an absolute run fest in a 50 over game a couple of years ago. It is gorgeous. It's a bit windy, but actually it's providing a little bit of relief from the afternoon sun.
Actually, I went out to the middle and had I'll tell you about the toss in a minute, and it was really blowy, so that may well be a factor during the game. So in terms of the toss, Jack Taylor won the toss for Gloucestershire. He decided to bowl first. This is one of the hybrid pitches here at Hove, which means there's just a little bit of plastic or whatever you call it in the pitch, a bit of hybrid grass in the pitch, but only 5%. But it looks an absolute belter, I have to say. It's been used for the women's game earlier on today, a game that actually Sussex won by 27 runs. So it looks a good pitch. But Gloucestershire have decided that they would like to chase. One change for Sussex from the side that played so well up at Lord's on Thursday night. Jack Carson coming into the side for Sussex in replacement for Danny Lamb. And Tamal Mills, the Sussex skipper, explaining to me that was because there's quite a few left-handers in the Gloucestershire lineup, and they'd like to have an off-spinner to bowl to those left-handers. So just the one change for Sussex. Gloucestershire started their campaign with a narrow defeat against Kent on Friday night.
It was, yes, a really high-scoring game. Plenty of records broken as far as T20 matches at Bristol. In that game, sixes flying all over the place. Both teams ended with scores over 200, but Gloucestershire just a little bit short. They were actually down and out, completely buried at the halfway stage, 64 for 3, and then scored 140 runs in the second 10 overs. But they needed, 145 runs in the second 10 overs. But they will take some confidence from that game. Jack Taylor, understandably, Gloucestershire's captain, was fairly stoic after that first game. There were some obvious bits of rust to be shaken off, particularly in the field and with the ball. But actually, that tends to be the case with most of the sides at the start of this competition. So I think he will be hoping, I'm sure, for incremental improvements. And in terms of the start to this competition, it has to be said from maybe a supporter's point of view, less so rather than the team point of view. It does feel already quite an important game because Gloucestershire have got Hampshire coming up next. A little bit of a break. So again, Taylor was talking about the opportunity to have a little bit of extra training time, which is good. But they play Hampshire next at the Utilita Bowl on Friday coming. And that has not been a happy fixture for Gloucestershire over the years. They have never beaten Hampshire in a T20 match at the Utilita Bowl. So that provides a little bit of extra spice to this matchup, possibly with Gloucestershire having lost their first one. Team news, it is identical. It's always nice and easy.
That's nice.
Unchanged side from the team which did lose to Kent, but I am expecting possibly a change of batting order. Darcy Short came in down at number 7 on Friday because he got off the plane the previous day and then had to do a little bit of physical stuff on the morning of the match as well. So came in down the order, didn't bowl. We might see him bowl in this game, and that was actually something that Taylor also said in his post-match interview the other day, that Ollie Price and Darcy Short might get a bit more of a bowl because Darcy Short is the left arm unorthodox and Ollie Price the right arm off spinner, and Sussex do have a lot of left-handers themselves.
Yes, indeed they do. And a bit of a juggling around of the Sussex batting order as well up at Lord's with John Simpson, who's been in such magnificent form in the Championship, coming in at number 3. Super knock from James Coles the other night. Spoke to James after the game. He played beautifully. We're all set And of course, the last time these two sides met in T20 cricket was Edgbaston back in September, when Gloucestershire won convincingly and went on to win the T20 Blast. So I'm sure Sussex will be looking for a little bit of revenge. We've got a very colourful scene in front of us. The yellow-shirted Gloucestershire fielders are making their way onto the field, preceded by the two very colourful umpires who are in their pink cerise-coloured tops. Ben Peverell and Mike Burns. Don't ask me to tell them apart because they've both got black caps on, and I'm a bit of a bore about this. I think the umpires should have their names on their back. And everybody else says, I don't know what the umpires can't, because I can't tell them apart. But they make their way out. Decent-sized crowd, by no means a full house. We've got temporary stands at the far end of the ground, which are probably about half full. So I'm guessing, and this is a bit of a guess really, probably maybe 3,500. We'll try and get some official figures a little later on. So the players are out in the middle. Let's turn the effects microphone up so we can hear the music and all the sounds around T20. Barely a cloud in the sky, and we're all set. And it looks to me it's going to be David Payne who's going to open them up. What a fine T20 bowler he is, and magnificent in finals day last year.
Well, yeah, I mean, he was extraordinary all throughout last season. 33 wickets, which was the most wickets by any bowler in a single season in Blast history. So,
wow.
I know not every year where that number of games have been played, etc., but it's still an extraordinary achievement from David Payne. However, incredibly rarely, both Payne and Matt Taylor went wicketless against Kent. So I'm sure we'll be expecting wickets today.
Well, I wish you hadn't told me that. we like to be very balanced here at the BBC. That does sound like bad news. Anyway, in comes Payne, left arm over the wicket to bowl to the left-handed Harrison Ward, who lets that one go by outside the off stump. We know it's Harrison Ward because he's got those blue boots on. And one thing you were saying about sort of finding your way into the competition after so much championship cricket. Tamal Mills was saying how pleased he was that Sussex were right on the ball, and some of their fielding, they're catching. Harrison Ward took an absolute Brahma to get rid of Kane Williamson. So they were in good form in the field, Sussex, and they'll need to be today. In comes Payne. Over the wicket bowls, and Ward is forward and plays firmly through the offside and picks up a single. A diving Miles Hammond at the edge of the circle. So just the one to Harrison Ward, who's on his way. One thing we did notice here in the women's game earlier on today, and Ed commented on it, was the speed of the outfield. It is lightning quick.
Yeah, it's not as brown as a lot of the outfields are around the country, but it's shaved within an inch of its life. It's shaved within a couple of millimetres of its life, but it's pristine as a surface, actually. I don't think you'll get a better outfield to field on all season.
Do you know what?
But it's very quick.
Yes, do you know, and I agree, and I'm not, because I've been to a number of grounds this year, to Trent Bridge. Taunton's a very good outfield. Edgbaston, Utilita, this is better than any of them. It really is fabulous. In comes David Payne, bowls and forced away by Hughes. Lovely shot. That's going to be the first boundary. Beautifully played by the Australian. A bit too much width from David Payne, and Daniel Hughes onto it in a flash and crashed the ball away through point for 4 runs. First boundary of the innings. Sussex go to 5 without loss.
Not much wrong there, David Payne. I mean, he's trying to get the ball to swing away from these left-handers. He's got a slip in place, so he would want to be putting it just outside the off stump. An extraordinary, just almost push for 4.
Payne in again, bowls, and Hughes drives down the ground, and that could well be another boundary. Hasn't quite timed that, coming down towards the boundary, and there we are. There's an example of just how quick this outfield was. It wasn't timed by Daniel Hughes, but had enough on it, and the ball raced away down the hill. Miles Hammond and Jack Taylor in hot pursuit, and no chance of cutting it off. Back-to-back boundaries for Hughes. He goes to 8, and Sussex 9 without loss.
Again, he's put a little bit into that with his hands. He's quite nonchalant almost sometimes, Daniel Hughes, in his follow-throughs, but I thought 1, then 2, then, oh, hang on, that's 4.
Payne again, bowls. Oh, that's a good delivery. Good comeback by David Payne, and Daniel Hughes had a little nibble at that one outside of the off-stump. The ball goes through to keeper Bracey, and there is no run.
Oh, gosh, I mean, never mind being close to the outside edge, that's close to the outside of off-stump as well. David Payne couldn't believe that it missed, and I think Daniel Hughes had a bit of a grin there. Oh, right, maybe over the top of the outside of off-stump. Good grief.
Payne wheels around in front of us, bowling for the C end of the ground, up the hill to the left-handed Hughes, who's forward and clips this one firmly to mid-on, fielded by Taylor. and there is no run. So good comeback by David Payne, having gone for successive boundaries. At the end of the opening over, the Sharks are 9 without loss, with Hughes on 8, Ward on 1. Just a quick shout out for Tom Haynes, the Sussex opener, who's playing for the England Lions in the game against India down at Canterbury. Tom is 167 not out. Wow. England Lions 413 for 5. So well done to Tom Haynes. I'm sure everybody in the Sussex dressing room and around the ground here at Sussex are delighted for Tom Haynes. He's got his chance, and when you've got a chance, you've got to take it, and he's done that. So well done to Tom Haynes.
Yeah, excellent stuff. And of course, Gloucestershire a little bit short-handed still as far as their seam contingent goes, both through injury and also because they've got both Ajit Singh Dale and Zaman Akhtar playing in that game. Akhtar picked up 3 wickets, Ajit Singh Dale the 1 on what looks like a very flat pitch at Canterbury. Ollie Price is going to have his first bowl of the competition. Starts off with a delivery into the pitch, which is slapped on the bounce back to him for no run. It's a slightly odd start to the campaign in a way for Gloucestershire, in that if you had Jack Taylor as the bowler who would take the first wicket of the campaign for Gloucestershire, as this is driven up to mid-off to the aforementioned for no run, well, you'd have certainly been a better savant than me, because he didn't bowl at all last competition, and Gloucestershire bowled both Jack Taylor and Ben Charlesworth in that opening game. Hadn't bowled a delivery, but Ollie Price certainly did, and was instrumental in the latter stages, especially as is pushed uppishly off the front foot by Harrison Ward up to mid-off, and again there is no run. So Gloucestershire pulling things back a little after those consecutive boundaries off the bowling of David Payne. They'd certainly have taken 9 runs off David Payne over Sussex. Just a little reset here from Harrison Ward. He's batting on leg stump and he's bowled! Well, all the stumps were there and Ollie Price hit them. So Price has struck 4th ball of the comp for him. Jack Taylor did say that he was likely to get a bit more of a bowl this evening, and backing away looking to cut, it's smashed into off stump, which has gone out of the ground, and Sussex are 9 for 1.
Yes, I was just going to say, just as Ollie Price was going to bowl that ball, and I was just thinking, you played 3 shots to mid-off, no run. There's no need to panic. They've had 9 off the opening over, but I just felt he was. Let's just watch a replay here. Look at that, cut that one. I wonder whether you just feel a little bit under pressure because there's been 3 dot balls.
Yeah. Well, you often hear it, don't you? I think it's one thing that they mention in T20 cricket, that 3 dot balls always creates either a boundary or a wicket. I'm not saying always, but that's definitely something you hear the players saying.
So this revised batting order in T20 this season, John Simpson coming to the crease, who's been in brilliant form in the Championship, 800s for Sussex since he arrived here in the County Championship. He's got 10 in his career prior to coming here, and he's got 8 since he's been at the county ground. So that's earned him promotion up to number 3 in the batting order. He's been in super form.
Does he ever not get runs?
Well,
now he's here. It's extraordinary. Ollie Price bowls to him. This is stroked away through the offside. It'll be the first run of the over, and the first run to Simpson straight away, just timing the ball nicely enough through deep point, and it is 10 for 1. So Ollie Price, who I don't think actually got the second over a huge amount last year, so it's a little bit of a change of plan, possibly again because of the unavailability of Josh Shaw, who's out with a bruised heel. As this is flicked away down to mid-on, there'll be a shot at the stumps here from Jack Taylor, which will actually, I think, make contact with the batter rather than with the stumps. Taylor thought he might have been in business there, but I think Hughes was probably home. But it's an excellent second over for Ollie Price, as Sussex 11 for 1 after 2 overs. Just been informed that Gloucestershire's women are still in the ground, having a support of the men, as you mentioned earlier. The Sussex women coming out on top in that encounter, but I think Gloucestershire actually, the women that is, be pretty happy with their performance. Yes, only a couple of wickets taken, but they were quite disciplined with the ball, only conceded 4 wides, and in the end Jess Hazel the lonely with 36 not out, but Melissa Story 27 not out at the end from just 24 balls, so got Gloucestershire over that 120 mark at least. But as you say, good opening win to the last League Two campaign for Sussex.
Here comes David Payne, left arm over the wicket to bowl to the left-handed Hughes, who punches this through the leg side. They've picked up one, they'll think about two. That's excellent place. It could always go for four, actually. It's very good placement by Hughes onto the leg side. There's very much an offside field for David Payne. There are 5 men saving one. And for those of you not familiar with the rules in T20 cricket, the first 6 overs, the fielding side has to have 2 fielders outside of the 30-yard circle, and those 2 fielders down at third man and deep backwards square leg. Otherwise the other 7 are inside the circle, 5 on the off and 2 on the leg, as Payne is in over the wicket, bowls, and Hughes drives and he finds the boundary. That's a super shot by Daniel Hughes. That's right out of the middle of the bat. Lovely extra cover drive all along the floor. 4 runs from the moment it left the bat. Hughes goes to 15 and Sussex off to a good start through Daniel Hughes. They've lost the wicket of Harrison Ward for just a single, who was bowled by Ollie Price, but Hughes looks in prime form. He's in good form at Lords the other night as well, and that's a lovely shot.
Yeah, fine shot. And again, there's very little wrong there from David Payne, but he's looking to swing the ball away still from the left-handers. I wonder if he's going to have to maybe go to plan B and either bowl cross-seamers or cutters, perhaps.
Payne in again, bowls, and Hughes drives onto the onside. A good tumbling save in at mid-wicket. And there is no run. Daniel Hughes, many congratulations to him and his partner on the birth of their first child, Lily. So many congratulations to Daniel. And if you just tuned in, you're listening to live cricket on the BBC. BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire and Bristol. Adrian Harms and Ed Seaborn, your commentary team here on a lovely sunny afternoon at the county ground. Now there has been an adjustment to the field, and now the sweeper has gone in at cover rather than down at third man, as in comes Payne and bowls, and Hughes plays that straight to that sweeper. So there's a good piece of fielding positioning, fielding out there by Ben Charlesworth. 1 more to Hughes. He goes to 16 and Sussex to 18 for 1 in the third.
I think it was that moment, going back to Edgbaston last year, that moment when you really felt, I mean, you felt Gloucestershire had a good chance because they played the quarter-final also at Edgbaston, which was a massive advantage, I think, to come in with the knowledge of that pitch.
Yes.
But when David Payne bowled Daniel Hughes off the inside edge, the tournament's leading wicket-taker getting the tournament's leading run score, he felt that was a big punch to land.
Payne in bowls to Simpson, who works that into the offside and takes a quick single fielded there by Darcy Short. 1 to John Simpson, he goes to 2. Sussex to 19 for 1. If you just joined us, Gloucestershire winning the toss here, deciding to bowl first. I think Tamal Mills isn't really too bothered.
No.
Up at Lords the other night, Sussex batted first, they lost the toss.
I don't think it makes too much difference in these afternoon games.
Payne is in, bowls and cut away, and that wasn't far short of the fielder at short third man, inside the circle from Daniel Hughes, who repeats the shot, but he picks up a single nonetheless. 8 off the over. 9 off the over, I'm sorry, and the Sussex Sharks are 20 for 1 with Hughes on 17 and Simpson on 2.
I suppose the only thing you might have thought in terms of doing the opposite if you were Gloucestershire's captain is just the fact that it is a used pitch now. We've had 1 game on it already, but then I really don't think, first of all, that makes a great deal of difference at this stage of the season and given the weather that we've had, but especially not when you know, as you've found out, which I didn't know, that this is a pitch which has a little bit of artificial grass in it as well as the natural grass. So I think even less so makes much difference. You've just got to do whatever you do well. Matt Taylor into the attack from the Cromwell Road end, bowling down the pitch. Oh, inside edging, just past leg stump and for 4. And that really is insult to injury if you're Gloucestershire, because he was perilously close to getting bowled off the inside edge again, but he has had that go just past leg stump. David Payne narrowly missing his off stump, and Matt Taylor with the coat of varnish missing his leg stump there, exposing all 3 again, dragging it, attempting to drag it through the offside. But again, once he gets rolling on this outfield, you can save your legs. 24 for 1. Hughes really is the prize wicket here for Gloucestershire on 21 off 11. Matt Taylor in and bowls to him, driven out through the offside and into the gap between backward point and cover. There will just be a single at 25 for 1.
Interesting you talking about the weather. I noticed down at Worcestershire, it's raining, the game between Worcestershire and Yorkshire. Worcestershire making 201 for 5, Yorkshire 10 without loss. That's in the northern group, which doesn't really bother us too much, but yeah. But here at Hove, absolutely glorious.
Matt Taylor to bowl to Simpson for the first time. In now again, Simpson using his feet, giving him the charge. He'll go for the single to mid off the sharp stumps, misses by a mile, and
yes,
just for a moment thought that might be heading off towards the boundary, but David Payne gets across and backs it up from short fine leg. He'll pick up one. It was a fairly entertaining single at 26 for 1. In fairness to Hammond, I think he knew he had to get rid of the ball quite quickly and clearly didn't have a particularly stable footing, so when launching himself away to the ground, rather in the manner of a goalkeeper trying to tip a ball around the corner, and chucked it about 10 yards wide of the stumps.
It was a long way wide, wasn't it?
Deep cover coming in, so it's 2 back on the leg side now as Taylor bowls. This is clipped into the onside between those 2 fielders. Charlesworth gets across, he'll have to tumble, and that will allow them to come back for 2. So it is 28 for 1. And already 8 runs off this Matt Taylor over. Spin seems to be working better than pace at this stage.
I was actually thinking last year, I remember the game down here last year where Jack Carson, it was at the penultimate ball for 6.
Off Matt Taylor.
Yeah, that was a terrific game.
It was a fantastic game of cricket as Matt Taylor bowls, and this is driven away, not timed, and out to Ollie Price at cover for no run, because it was one of those games that just absolutely seesawed. It looked as though Sussex were chasing it down easily, and then Gloucestershire got a few wickets to pull it back, and Jack Carson was on debut, I think, in that game.
Wow, that's a good memory.
And he
hit it into the top tier.
Yes, exactly, hit his 6 over towards the Spankama Pavilion and changed it all, but without wishing to rehash old ground too much, as Taylor completes the 4th over by bowling, as is slashed up and over the offside and for 4. Over backward point, and again, as soon as Daniel Hughes is presented width, we've seen he's happy to throw his arms and his hands through the ball. Much too wide that time from Matt Taylor, who's prepared to give David Payne a little bit of wiggle room in his first over when Hughes hit him for a couple of boundaries. Those were great shots, but that one was almost on the wide line, and Daniel Hughes is going to hit that for 4 pretty much every time. 32 for 1 after 4 overs. But interestingly, the end of that game, because they needed 1 off the last ball, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And it was a swing and a miss, and James Bracey bowled the ball at the stumps and missed them. They were in exactly the same position at the Oval as well, and they got the tie there because they put a fielder almost at silly mid-on to catch the ball as it was thrown to the non-strikers. So they would have had a tie if they'd done that, and they learnt from this game, or that game last year.
Ollie Price comes in, bowls to John Simpson, short and pulled away by Simpson, straight down the ground for 4 runs. Bit of a long hop, to be honest, by Ollie Price, and John Simpson was not going to miss out on that, and he belts the ball down through mid-on for 4 runs. Nice shot by Simpson, say not the greatest delivery. Simpson goes to 7 rather, and Sussex Sharks to 36 for 1. After a good start, the wicket lost that of Harrison Ward, who was bowled by Ollie Price for 1 when the score was on 9. Price in again, bowls, and Simpson launches himself again onto the onside. Didn't quite get all of that, John Simpson, but he picks up a single fielded out by Darcy Short. Is it Darcy Short out there? Yes, it is. 1 more to Simpson. He goes to 8. Total to 37 for 1 here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire and Bristol. Adrian Harms and Ed Seaborn. A very good afternoon if you're listening on the radio or via the stream, as in comes Price again, bowls, and Hughes makes rooms and plays that beautifully, and it's a lovely shot by Daniel Hughes. There are 4 men saving 1 on that offside. It completely bisected them. I don't think Ollie Price was desperately happy. I think he felt someone should have stopped that, but I think you have to say good placement by Hughes. He goes to 21, I think that's going to go. 32. What's the matter with me? 41 for 1.
It's not the easiest at these blast games, always, because they're so keen, and I'm sure it's important for the spectators to show the replays, but it's just when you want to give the score as the commentator.
Price in again, Hughes down the wicket driving, and he's going to get more runs here. I don't think he's going to get a boundary, he's going to get a couple as Short comes round from deepish mid-wicket to field. I think Price is saying I might want to change in the field here, but Hughes goes to 34 off 17, and the Sharks to 43 for 1
It's interesting
in the
that
fifth.
they've gone with the long off as well, because I mean, I tend to think, oh, they're going to change it now, you see. I was about to say, I always think of Hughes as a square of the wicket player, and he's hit most of his boundaries square of the wicket as well. Watch him hit it over mid-off now.
Priced it again, bowls,
Tried.
and driven down the ground, fielded by Hammond, who'd come up inside the circle, and there is no run. Now they are going to make a change, and they're going to put the long off back.
Change it back again.
Yeah, in fact, Hammond is now going to go to long on. So they've got 2 men out on the leg side, and 5 men saving one inside
This
the
has
circle on
got
the
to
off.
be in on the pads.
Rice. In and bowls, and cut away, and he hasn't got hold of that at all, and he's caught at mid-off. Well, Jack Taylor takes the catch, and I think Daniel Hughes will be desperately disappointed. He's looking to hit that one away, and he hasn't timed that at all, and he presents a simple catch to mid-off. Maybe you should be the scorer.
As I said, he'll bowl it short and wide with nobody out on the offside, and he'll get a wicket with it. I mean, it really was just pretty much the opposite of what Ollie Price would have wanted, although actually, in fairness, he would have wanted it into the pitch because he didn't have the deep square, the deep mid-wicket and the long on, so he'd have wanted it into the pitch and forcing Hughes maybe to pull, but he got him to cut, and that is a huge bonus for Gloucestershire. It didn't look as if it stopped in the pitch too much.
No,
I think it was just that Hughes was a little bit in two minds about whether to hit it along the ground or try and go up and over, and just ended up neither doing one thing nor t'other, and that was the simplest catch probably that Jack Taylor has taken in his long career.
Shame for Sussex and a shame for Daniel Hughes, because he was batting beautifully, and he got a start at Lord's as well on Thursday evening. But what that does do is to bring in James Coles, who batted beautifully at Lord's the other evening, top scoring for Sussex. But he's going to have to start at the non-strikers end. So it was the end of the over, so 5 overs gone. And the Sharks are 43 for 2, so yeah, pretty much even Steven, I reckon.
Yeah, we'll be happy with the 2 wickets, Gloucestershire, so it could depend in terms of who wins the power play on this last over of it. Matt Taylor to bowl it, and in now to Simpson, who hits this one in the air as he got it over the top.
Oh, wow.
He has! What a catch from Miles Hammond! He is an extraordinary fielder when he's presented with those sorts of opportunities, and John Simpson would have thought he'd just got away with that. He sliced it somewhat, didn't quite get the elevation because I think it wasn't quite as full as he hoped for, but Matt Taylor picks up his first wicket of the competition, and it was almost a speculative throw of the hand out from Miles Hammond at mid-off, just throwing himself to his right. He takes an absolute stunner, and Sussex 43 for 3.
Well, they say that catches win matches, and that was absolutely magnificent. We're going to see it again. He didn't quite time it, did he, John Taylor? But John Simpson, rather. Look at that from Hammond. I mean, he's diving backwards, and that's a magnificent. And actually, when he takes the catch, he always sort of nonchalantly stands up as if to say, "Well, was there any doubt?" But that was an excellent catch. Very, very good indeed. And how games change. You know, all of a sudden, 43 for 1 becomes 43 for 3.
Yeah, indeed. With the 2 men out being Simpson there and then Hughes, it means that you've got 2 batters in now who've not faced a single delivery, because Coles has been joined by Tom Alsop, and it's a dream situation for Gloucestershire really in terms of end of the power play. I know it's old money, but there is still that adage about 3 wickets in the power play, which was proven wrong here in a game a few years ago. I can remember when Glenn Phillips went berserk, and both teams actually lost 4 wickets in the power play, so I suppose somebody had to win that one. Anyway, Alsop, characteristic crouching stance, edges it for 4, first ball. Again, it was a little bit wide, so Alsop just saw that straight away and decided that he could slash away at it. 3 wickets down. Gloucestershire don't have a slip in. I don't actually think that would have gone to a first slip, even if there'd been one, it would have gone wide of him.
Yes, I agree. I think if that had gone anywhere, that would have gone probably towards second slip, I think.
All action.
It is, but it's always the same when these 2 play.
47 for 3. Matt Taylor into Alsop, who cuts it away. Pass backward point, work to do for Ollie Price round the boundary. He'll dive and he won't get there. Over the boundary rope for 4. The 50 comes up. And Sussex seem determined just to keep on going here, even if they lose wickets. Admittedly, there's not a great deal of risk in that particular shot, because it's back of the length, it's outside the off stump, he's punched it away, kept it along the floor, and picked up 4 runs as well.
Lovely shot, wasn't it? Tom Alsop, who played very well in T20 last season and then got picked up by the Brisbane Heat in the Big Bash.
Taylor into Alsop, flicked into the leg side through square leg. That will just be picked up by Ben Charlesworth out there on the deep square leg boundary. Just the single, 52 for 3, as he played with tall Paul Walter in that competition in the.
He was injured for a little bit, but played more towards the latter end of the competition and made runs as well.
Indeed. So Coles to face his first ball, and first look at a right-hander for Gloucestershire as Taylor's into him, and Coles nudges this one into the onside, and they'll sprint through for a single as Bancroft does the fielding. 53 for 3. I did watch and obviously listen to your commentary, he says, making absolutely sure. Did listen to your commentary while synchronised to the pictures from Lords. Watched James Coles' innings the other day. He just fantastic ball striking. He's continued to get better and better. Taylor, last ball of the power play, strikes Alsop on the pad. It's going down the leg side, so no real appeal for LBW, and the power play comes to an end with Sussex at 53 for 3. Gloucestershire will be much more happy with that power play than the other day, and it took them until I think it was the 11th over to pick up their first wicket on Friday, as Messrs Muyaya and Bell Drummond got Kent off to a fantastic start, and that really did just set the platform for that big total. Kent getting up and over 200, and I thought Gloucestershire might do this because they picked up a couple of wickets now. It's a good opportunity to get the youngster Aman Rao into the attack. He's only 20, is I think still studying at Luca Baruga University, and went to Millfield, so he's from a solid cricketing background at that school, and was born actually in Sydney, New South Wales, but I'm going to have to get the lowdown on that.
Well, he's coming in right arm over the wicket from the CN, bowls to James Coles down the leg side. His first ball is a wide, and the Sharks go to 54 for 3. Talking about for 3, England now 93 for 3 in the ODI against the West Indies. Harry Brook out for 47. England needing 309 to win. 93 for 3 in the 14th over. Smith and Duckett both out for Ducks. Joe Root 37 not out. In comes Rao again, bowls, and Coles plays stylishly to backward point. There's a misfield. Well, there is a misfield. Never run on a misfield, they say. I think that was Tom Smith at backward point. There's a rarity. And Coles picks up a single. He goes to 2, and the total to 53 for 3. In fact, England now 93 for 4. With Joss Butler out for a duck.
All was fixed with getting 400 in the first ODI. Yes, I think once we saw it consistently, we might believe it, but I suppose there's still some batting to come, but that's quite an ask to chase down that West Indies total.
So, as I say, to those who don't follow T20 cricket, now 4 men only allowed inside the circle, as in comes Raul bowls to Alsop, who punches that to extra cover, picks up a single, fielded there by Cameron Bancroft, so Alsop moves to double figures. He's on 10, the total to 56 for 3 in the 7th over. Here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire or Bristol. Adrian Harms, Ed Seaborn, your commentary team here on a gorgeous afternoon here at Hove. And the tall figure of Aman Rao runs away from us, coming into bowl to the right-handed James Coles, and Coles plays across the line, and there's an appeal from Rao, but that wasn't a great shot from James Coles. He was looking to flick it away on the leg side.
Well, if you sort of extrapolated the stumps as, in terms of how tall the bowler was, and Aman Rao being 6'6" got some taller stumps, then he might have been in business there, but as you say, it was a good piece of bowling. It wasn't quite short enough to play that shot, and he tried to pick it up and it whacked him midships.
What it's prompted to happen is that now Gloucestershire have got 4 fielders on the leg side boundary, no one saving one, as in comes Raul bowls, and Coles takes advantage of that and clips the ball away through the leg side and picks up a single. He goes to 3, and the total to 57 for 3.
There's another graduate of the South Asian Cricket Academy is Aman Rao, so in terms of Gloucestershire, that's their second, along with Zaman Akhtar, who is, of course, as I mentioned, playing for the England Lions at the moment. So it is certainly something that is continuing to produce county cricketers, and who knows, maybe more.
Rowell comes in again to bowl to the left-handed Tom. Also drives firmly to mid-off, fielded by Bancroft, who's very quickly round from mid-off to field, and there is no run. Elsewhere in the southern group today, Essex 45 for 3 at Chelmsford against Somerset. Middlesex 46 for 1 against Glamorgan, that game being played at Merchant Taylor's School. And if you missed it earlier on today, Sussex women winning here by 27 runs against Gloucestershire, as in comes Rowell bowls and also plays that away nicely through the offside. They pick up one, that's only going to be the one they're able to take. Ollie Price very quickly round, sweeping on the cover boundary, gets in the throw, and that was tidy enough from man Rowell. I think he'll be very pleased with his opening over in T20 cricket. Ended the over 58 for 3 at Sussex, so just the 5 runs coming off the over, with Alsop on 11 and Coles on 3.
I do not envy whoever is at Merchant Taylor's School today, because if the wind is anything like it is here at Merchant Taylor's, that is going to be a pretty blustery experience. So Nick Webb or whoever's gone to that for Glamorgan, I hope that they've brought their windbreaker. It's going to be Darcy Short from the Cromwell Road end, so he's going to have his first bowl of the campaign.
You go.
Here he comes with his left arm unorthodox, and he's slapped down to long off by Tom Alsop just for the single. And it is 59 for 3.
We mentioned the women's match. We're going to get somebody who played in the women's match to come and have a little natter for us for a couple of overs at the end of this over.
So Darcy Short will be left arm over to the right-handed Coles, and Short bowls to him. It's played back towards the bowler, who scuttles across to his right, gets into the tumble and makes sure that there is no run. And Short, who only got off the plane on Thursday, such is the world of T20 cricket, bowling now. Slog sweep attempted from Coles. He tried to fetch that from way outside the off stump and hit it into his body, I think. So again, there is no run. Yeah, smacked it into his right leg off the bottom edge. Short bowls, hit in the air just over the head of the bowler. It'll just be the one, I think, although, well, they could have got 2, but quickly to the ball there was Miles Hammond, who took that extraordinary one-handed catch to get rid of John Simpson and did enough to dissuade them from taking a second run. So a couple of cheap overs at the moment since the power play, as Short drags it down, pulled away towards deep mid-wicket, and that will go for 4, I think. Good grief, how's he got to that? Cameron Bancroft, another full-length dive from long on all the way to deep mid-wicket. And if you know the ground, that's a particularly long corner of the ground towards the Cromwell Road, and he's kept that down to 2 as the last ball of the over is cut away through the covers, and that will go to the boundary. The previous ball I thought was 4 and ended up being 2. That one I thought was just a simple little cut through the offside, and it's gone all the way for 4. So 8 runs from the over. I think the score is 66 for 3, but it's got on the ball. Yes, there it is. 66 for 3.
Oh, well, let's speak to someone who knows a bit about this pitch. Let's bring in Melissa Story for a couple of overs, who was playing for Gloucestershire women in that match. Hi, Melissa.
Hello, how are you?
Lovely to see you.
Yeah, lovely to see you too, and nice to be playing on such a sunny day here down in Brighton and Hove.
Now, you played in that women's match. Just tell us how you were playing, because we were quite surprised to see you.
Wow, yeah, I mean, I had a bit of a busy stint out on the boundary in front of some very fun home fans, I must say. If anyone happens to know the one man who shouted fumble every time the ball came towards me, it made the innings so much more fun. It was so enjoyable. But yeah, so obviously fielded first in that game, and the Sussex women did brilliant.
Tom Smith comes in around the wicket to bowl his opening over to bowl to James Coles. That's wide outside the off stump, taken by Bracey, and there is no run. Just tell us a little bit about the pitch, because you batted.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it before the game, that obviously you've got the slope here. So from the end, which we're bowling from now, up the hill, you do tend to get that bit of extra bounce.
Smith Around the wicket, bowls, and Coles flicks that onto the onside, picks up a single as James Coles. He goes to 5, the total to 68 for 3.
Whilst with the bowlers coming down the hill, the ball does really skid on that much more, and the slope does play in your mind in terms of boundary options. It was windy out there as well, so the whole time you're batting, you're thinking, particularly the rate we were chasing, where are your boundary options? So here it's looking to hit down that slope, and Sussex did really well, I think, with their matchups to get the seamers running up the hill and just making it harder that we couldn't really look to use that ramp shot and stuff up the hill because it wouldn't have gone for 4.
Smith in bowls. Also, I thought for a moment he'd been bowled. Tom also hits the pad and bounces out on the offside, no run.
And yeah, spinners coming down the hill, having to hit up against the slope just made things really hard. And Ed just mentioned there that the pockets, the ground here as well, are so valuable. Yes, you get value for runs along the outfield, but actually there's so many twos in those bigger corners.
Smith over the wicket, bowls. Allsop takes a step down the wicket and plays it onto the onside. They've taken one. Allsop's very quick between the wickets, but there's no way there's a second run there, fielded by Hammond. Allsop goes to 19, the Sharks to 69 for 3, halfway through the 9th over here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire and Bristol. Adrian Harms, Melissa Story on commentary. Ed Seaborn back with us in a couple of moments' time, but it's going to be Tom Smith. Left arm around the wicket, comes in and bowls, and Coles clubs that one down the ground, but he doesn't time it. Down to mid-on, fielded down here by Cameron Bancroft. One more to the total, 70 for 3.
But yeah, on a personal note, I guess I came in a situation where we had to go for
Yes.
it, and I knew I was going to have to run quite a few twos, so it was absolutely blowing out there in the end as well, but had a bit of a licence to have a swing, which was nice.
Smith over the wicket, bowls, also drives firmly down the ground, as again fielded by Bancroft down in front of us. Just one more to the total, nice and tidy by Tom Smith, the wide off the opening ball of the over, but then since then 4 singles. Total goes to 71 for 3. Tom Allsop on 20, James Coles on 6. Final ball of the 9th over. Tom Smith around the wicket in bright sunshine in his yellow top, bowls to James Coles, who cuts firmly through the covers, but it's just a single fielded out on the cover boundary. One more to Coles, he goes to 7 at the end of the over. The Sharks are 72 for 3 at the end of the 9th. What do you make, in terms of these double headers and the revamped brass, what have you made of it all, Melissa?
I mean, today felt like a really big occasion for the team. We have been so excited just being able to travel down with the men's side, play in front of the biggest crowd most of us have ever played in front of it. We were so happy when people started piling through the gates, and you felt a real buzz. And of course, they're cheering for the Sussex girls hitting the boundaries, and some people kind of said they were learning to block it out, but actually other people, I know myself, just really embraced it and thought it's fantastic to have noise around us. So, we're not professional players at all in Tier 2.
In comes Price, bowls to Coles short, and Coles hammers that one away on the leg side out to wideish deep mid-wicket, but just one more to James Coles. He goes to 8, the total to 73 for 3.
So pressure does come with that, because obviously a lot of people here who came in may not have watched that much women's cricket, may not have known that. So we really wanted to prove ourselves, prove the standard that we could play, but it feels like such a fantastic opportunity to be able to play in these double headers.
Price in and bowls, and also works this one away through the offside. More than works it, he could well go for 4 runs. It's beautifully played by Tom Allsop, plays the ball away through backward point, beautifully timed by the left-handed Allsop. He goes to 24 and the Sharks to 77 for 3. Nice shot.
We discussed during our innings as well that actually probably in the first 15 we did well at keeping it on the stumps, and it made it harder for the Sussex batters. Even though they weren't losing wickets, we were containing them, but actually gave a bit too much width, just like there in the last 5.
Price in, bowls to Allsop, who wristily plays that one away through mid-wicket, picks up another single to Allsop. He goes to 25, the total to 78 for 3. And how lucky were the Sussex women to play their first game at Lord's? I mean, fabulous.
Really, really amazing. And actually, when you look around a lot of the fixtures in Tier 2, they're playing at bigger venues than a lot of the women's teams in Tier 1.
Price in over the wicket, bowls, and Coles clips this one away through mid-wicket, picks up a comfortable single, does James Coles. He goes to 9 and the Sharks to 79 for 3.
And it helps you so much as a player because, you compare this to pitches we were playing on in the last few years where there's a tree at deep third and the covers don't quite cover all of the run-up. To actually go here and say, I can play these shots with conviction, I know that it's a good pitch.
Price in, bowls, Allsop works that one onto the onside. Now they'll think about 2 here. They've taken 1. They'll need to be very quick, and although Tom Allsop is very quick between the stumps, it would have meant James Coles running to the danger end. Cole's not keen to go back for the second, and in fairness, I don't think there was ever two there really. 80 for 3, Allsop to 26. One ball remaining in this, the 10th over. Then we'll be at the halfway stage as in comes Ollie Price over the wicket, bowls. Coles is down the wicket, driving down to a log on, picks up a single on this immaculate outfield here at Hove. And at the halfway stage, the Sussex Sharks 81 for 3, Allsop on 26. Coles is on 10. Let's bring in Ed for a couple of overs to have a natural way to Melissa. But I'd just like to ask you about the outfield here, because I think this is as good as it gets anywhere, to be honest with you.
Oh, it was a really enjoyable time on the boundary actually, because as we say, a lot of the time we're playing on pitches where you do have to get the long barrier out quite a bit, just to make sure that the ball doesn't go shooting through your legs, which would be even more embarrassing in front of the few hundred people who was in here earlier today for our game. But it was like an absolute carpet out there, and just, as I say, added to the occasion that we're being treated like professionals, even though we're not, and that's only going to prepare people to keep going up through those kind of platforms. And, you know, I can speak from a Gloucestershire point of view. The guys have been so great in supporting us.
Here's Tom Smith from the C end, and this is clipped into the leg side, out to deep mid-wicket. 1 run is taken.
We did have a lot of fun with David Payne opening the bowling, because Payne's been one of our coaches for the last few weeks, and obviously really helping us with our bowling plans. And there's a big group of the girls sat in the stand opposite who were analysing his field, trying to work out what he would want to be bowling. Saw the setup for the shorter ball and said, "You can't make it that obvious, Payne, come on." That's what you told us.
Oh dear. Yeah, they certainly tried the short ball quite a lot the other evening at Bristol, and it got hit quite a long way, as that one has been. Down the ground it goes, straight back over Tom Smith's head, and Allsop whacks it for 6, 88 for 3.
Allsop really looking dangerous here for Sussex, and it almost feels like, I know he's got a fantastic strike rate, but it's that quiet accumulation. He's finding those areas of the ground, running hard, and Gloucestershire, they'll really be wanting to get him out soon, because they'll know how dangerous he can be if he's there at the end. They're only at the halfway stage now, and Sussex already with a really good platform.
Yeah, and this partnership really quite well established now. Smith over the wicket, bowls, and this is just pushed back to him for no run. And they took those 2 wickets in quick succession towards the back end of the power play, and it's Allsop and Coles who've been together since then. Allsop in particular looking dangerous on 32 from 18. Smith bowls, one of those round arm deliveries of his. It's worked wide of long on. They should be able to pick up 2 here, and they will do, as Darcy Short guns the throw in, but 2 runs are taken. It is 90 for 3.
It did feel like a pitch which was difficult to get wickets as well. You know, I mentioned that we felt like we contained the Sussex openers, but actually only 6 wickets fell across the entire women's game, and Gloucestershire, you know, a brilliant catch from Miles Hammond, have had to work hard for them.
Smith into Allsop, and this is just worked from deep in the crease off a full delivery, but securely enough out towards mid-wicket. 1 run is taken, 91 for 3. But yeah, I mean, in terms of discipline though, I mean, I was thinking, you know, I know you said maybe a little bit of width in the last 5 overs, but even then you're expecting acceleration in the back 5 overs. The discipline in terms of the bowling seemed really good.
Yeah, I think as a team, you know, we're disappointed to have lost that one. Sussex played really well, but we haven't had the best of times in the 50 over competition, so this did feel like a bit of a fresh start.
Smith to Coles, this is hit into the onside, fielder back there, off his hand this time, and over the boundary rope for 6. Ben Charlesworth, I think he always felt as though that one was going over his head. And similarly to Miles Hammond, really just stuck up the mitt thinking maybe it might stick, but I think just well hit enough. And the danger now is that that's the blow from a Gloucestershire point of view that gets James Coles really going. An expensive over, 2 6s from it, and Sussex beginning to accelerate now, getting that run rate up towards 9s. It's 97 for 3 after 11.
Yeah, really good shot, and soars towards that boundary because it is going down. And as you say, for Charlesworth, he got himself in a really good position, but even if the ball had stuck, it always felt like it was just going to propel him over that boundary rope. And Gloucestershire was certainly wanting a wicket here now. As you mentioned, Coles, we know how destructive he can be.
Have you played on a ground with this sort of slope top to bottom?
I mean, having club cricket, there's a club in Sussex, Anstey Cricket Club. They play in the Southern Prem. They have one hell of a slope there at Anstey, and I always got told to run up the hill.
Aman Rao back into the attack as Allsop tries to cut at this one, but ends up heading it towards mid-off. There's no run.
But it is, discussions which we've not really had to consider before, I guess, and that level of, analysing the game, which has come in with Gloucestershire, Sussex becoming tier 2 sides. You'll know who players are before you play against them, which isn't a thing we knew before.
Rao bowls pulled away, and Allsop not able to get the elevation or the placement this time. It's just the single out into the onside, fielded out at deep mid-wicket by Ollie Price, who as usual is prowling one of the boundaries. 98 for 3, as you were earlier.
Yes.
You get your boundary riders out there.
I mean, Ollie Price bowled his over and was straight out there at deep mid-wicket to follow up, so it shows how valuable he is from a Gloucestershire perspective. Doesn't get a break after bowling.
98 for 3. Rao bowls a slower ball, hit up and over mid-off, and that will, I think, have the legs, and more than enough legs, to go for 6. And it's gone right towards the back of that temporary stand over long off. And that is a really handsome shot from James Coles, just flowing the arms, the swing through the ball, having backed away and given himself room. That's an extraordinary shot.
I mean, with pace taken off it as well, going up the hill against a bowler, someone as tall as Rao, really impressive, and does feel as if this is a crunch moment now.
Rao into Coles again. He's backing away, hacking into the leg side, and will just pick up the single to deep mid-wicket. But you can tell now that Sussex are thinking this is real go time, and they might also be thinking that they might not get a huge amount more of Aman Rao to face. He is the third seamer for Gloucestershire. He is playing his second T20 match, so see whether he can counter Sussex as they look to attack him. Not this time. Pulled away for 6. That's going to smash just off the clock over the scoreboard, as it was just short of a length, and Allsop has climbed into that one, and there's probably a dent on that area just above the clock over the scoreboard. It almost smashed the clock. It would have been quite good if it had knocked one of the hands off the clock. That would have taken some repairing.
It would have been very Back to the Future-esque.
111 for 3. Rao bowls full and wide, carved out through the covers. That might be 4 more. Work to do for Darcy Short. He just gets there to tip it back in time. Then has a bit of difficulty picking the ball up, and they come through for a 3rd run. That's excellent running from Simpson and Coles and Allsop, and again, so often in T20 cricket you hear the noise for the 6 almost actually louder for a 3. Crowd love that sort of thing. 114 for 3. It's something that's often said in baseball, actually. I think Willie Mays, the great baseball hitter for the New York and San Francisco Giants, he says, bumping the chest. He used to say that actually the most exciting play in baseball wasn't a home run, it was a triple. And perhaps it's the same thing in cricket, because you hear the noise for that 3. They absolutely love those extra runs, especially on a misfield.
I think it's because it's smart cricket as well, and this is a crowd who appreciate that in T20 cricket. You do get those big 6s, the boundaries, but actually when you see the signs that your team is just starting to really dominate, that was it.
Yeah. Matt Taylor, change of ends for him. He's bowling his first over from the C end now, and this is stroked out through the covers by Tom Allsop just for a single, but 200 plus. Maybe even with the emphasis on the plus, very much back on now.
Yeah, I certainly
for 3.
think from a Sussex point of view, they'll be looking at how well these two are seeing it. With Allsop, he's 46 off 25. The Gloucestershire team, Gloucestershire bowlers, they've had to make these changes, and they've had to bring back on the experience of Taylor.
Yeah.
And it will probably just be messing with their plans towards the end of the innings as well.
Exactly, yeah, it's a big win for Sussex to get this 3rd over out of Taylor now. He comes in round the wicket to Coles, who belts this one high over long on, and that's going to hit off the roof of the Hospitality 10-8 to our right. Again, it's just full enough, and Coles, he just sensed even from that one that he didn't quite middle, but still went for 6, that he might just think, actually now I'm seeing it well enough and just get that little boost of having got your strike rate up. He started to relax out in the middle, and now he is really opening his shoulders.
It was such a simplicity of movement as well, because it was just that small step into the offside, leant into it, and he was so still at the crease, but actually was able to generate so much power going down the hill into that corner where the hospitality boxes are. And you can see the discussions now that the Gloucestershire players, they've all kind of bundled up into twos of the players inside the ring and just thinking about how they can get this breakthrough now, because you'd be saying well over 200 if you're Sussex right now. And actually they're going to probably have to get the ball checked, because it absolutely hammered into the roof of those tents.
It's taken a battering, hasn't it? Smashed off the clock tower and then
It's probably a
hit on top of the roof there. Well, Gloucestershire might need to bowl with the rectangle if they can, because the sphere seems to be getting whacked at the moment. Cole's on to 30. Taylor bowls. He's gone for the slog sweepers. Cole's was an ambitious shot off the seamer. You see he's trying to target the short boundary again, stepping across to the offside and trying to access that with the slog sweep, striking him on the pad way outside the off stump, and they do still get a leg by, so 122 for 3. And Taylor, who came back into the attack this over thinking this really had to be an over that broke this partnership, it is turning into another big one for Sussex. 8 off the first 3 balls. Deep third comes up, long off goes back.
Might just take pace off it, this ball.
Taylor bowls, and it's clipped leg side. Allsop sprinting the first. I don't think this time they'll have a shot at a second. They won't. Hammond too quick off that leg side boundary. 123 for 3. But yeah, it's been I guess a bit of a unusual experience for Gloucestershire these first couple of games, because they haven't been used to too many times when there have been massive set partnerships against them, even though, yes, they did only just squeak in last year, but they were able to pick up these wickets at regular intervals. They've got another big partnership brewing here. Taylor round the wicket bowling to Coles, who drives in the air through the offside. Might have split the gap. Fielder gets there from deep backward point, then falls over. I think they were coming through for the second run anyway, and that just made it very easy for them to get back. 125 for 3. Gloucestershire's next fixture women's wise, when's that?
That will be in June, I think, in about 2 weeks' time, on June the 15th at home.
Is the double header at Bristol.
Double header. So we have a bit of a break now, actually.
Okay. Taylor, last ball of the over, bowls, picked up into the leg side. He's targeted the scoreboard and the clock tower again. He's going to have to hit it slightly better still. But it is 6 again from the moment it left Coles' bat, just stepping across, helping the ball away with the left arm angle from around the wicket. And again, it's a shot which, if he misses that, that is cannoning into the stumps. But not only has he not missed it, but he's also hit it a long way for 6. Thank you so much, Melissa Story, for coming and providing some expertise from out in the middle. And Adrian Harms is back alongside me.
Well, that was a terrific shot, wasn't it, by James Coles, who's motoring here. 38 not out. He made 77 at Lord's the other night, so he's in terrific form. And when he times the ball, James Coles, it just looks fabulous. It really does. Beautiful shots. I'm just trying to work out which microphone we're on here. There we go, that's better. I can hear myself now. So, I mean, it is a shortish leg side boundary, but nonetheless, Sussex are behind. And Melissa was saying, you know, Sussex will be here, from here, eyeing 200 plus, you would think. It is going to be Ollie Price. He's back into the attack to bowl to Tom Allsop, who works that one away rather more sedately on this occasion, out to the offside, followed by the sweeper on the cover boundary. One more to Allsop. He goes to 48 of 27. James Coles on 38 of just 21 deliveries. These two coming together when Sussex were 43 for 3, so a partnership now of 89 between this pair.
Yeah, shot selection's been fantastic, really. There have been so few deliveries that they've looked to attack which haven't been there for the shots that they've picked.
Price in again, bowls, and Coles is driving, doesn't quite time that. The ball goes into the covers, fielded there by Jack Taylor.
Gloucestershire really on the defensive as well, because now every fielder right back on the edge of the circle, and really dot balls are going to be almost impossible to come by. They'll either have to miss it or hit it straight back to the bowler. Everything else will be a single, and that's how you just continue to build that rate up, because they'll still pick up boundaries.
Price in In again, bowls, all sort of drives. A rare dot ball down the offside. Well bowled by Ollie Price. And Gloucestershire could just do with a couple of quieter overs here. But Allsop and Coles have played this beautifully at the moment. He's bowled well actually, Ollie Price, and he's in his third over. 2 for 23. He comes wide outside the off stump, and actually probably if Tom Allsop had let that go, that would have been a wide. I think in T20 cricket, as it is, it's another dot ball. So just the 2 singles coming off of this over from Price. I think he's bowled very nicely.
Yeah, he has. He's going to bowl his allocation out actually after this one, but
Probably
he's
had
done a
to
fine
turn.
job.
Yeah, he has. Price in again, bowls. Allsop down the wicket, driving. That's going to be 4 runs. Lovely shot by Tom Allsop. The long off is slightly wider, and he hit that absolutely straight. Tom Allsop beautifully played. And that brings up a half century for the Sussex left-hander, drilled down the ground. And Tom Allsop very much picking up where he left off last year in the T20 Blast. 52 of 30 deliveries. Very fine innings as well. 137 for 3. Partnership now between these two worth 94. Price. In again, bowls. Allsop rather reaches for this. Played to backward point. And there is no run. So another dot ball, 6 off the over so far. In fact, that is the last ball of the over. 137 for 3 are Sussex, with Tom Allsop on 52, James Coles on 39.
Well, they've got through 4 overs of Ollie Price. However, they've only got the 2 overs of Payne, which surely they're going to have to save right for the back end. Although there's another conflab going on out in the middle between 4 Gloucestershire fielders. James Bracey, Ollie Price, captain Jack Taylor and Tom Smith. And yeah, they kind of have to go back to Smith really, because they've got to get more overs out of the combination between Aman Rao, Darcy Short, who's bowled 1 over, Rao's bowled 2, and Tom Smith has also bowled 2, but both Rao and Smith have been a little expensive so far. And Smith it is to bowl his 3rd over now to Coles on 39, a slow wide delivery, and it has been wided. Tom Smith not best pleased with that call from Ben Peverell, thinking maybe that Coles had moved across, but there's just absolutely no margin in this, and Smith is trying to bowl it outside the off stump because he's seen Coles move across his stumps and hit multiple 6s already into the onside. Smith bowls again, it's very wide, cut away to the edge of the circle, will be stopped there by Jack Taylor. Out at extra cover and 1 run taken.
Yeah, 4 6s, James Coles.
No 4s.
Yeah, no 4s.
Didn't have actually many. We didn't have a single 6 in the power play, did we? But 6 4s from Daniel Hughes and 1 from John Simpson, but it's been 6s that have done the talking since. Full ball from Smith is slammed down to long off where Bancroft awaits, and again it is just the single, 140 for 3. So the problem is they've accelerated so well. It's a problem for Gloucestershire, is they've accelerated so well, these two, that even a couple of quiet overs, Sussex are still well on for that 200 mark.
I guess they are. They're going along at 9.8 and over at the moment.
Ollie Price's last over went for 6. There's been no boundaries the first couple of balls this over, but still looking very healthy, the Sussex position. Again, Coles comes across his stumps but gets a full wide ball again from Tom Smith that he can't really get underneath, also can't hit to the leg side, hits it along the floor down to long off. And 1 more run, 141 for 3 as the breeze just kicks up again. You see the trees swaying in the distance. That will be, as Melissa was mentioning, I'm sure a factor out there, even though we can't feel it. Smith to Allsop advancing, hitting in the air, hitting it straight in, up and for 4. 1 bounce and away from Darcy Short as he set off, hopefully thinking he might even have a small chance at a catch to start with, but apology, that's the wrong.
Oh, we're on the wrong microphones, aren't we?
We've confused everything, we all switched over.
Yeah, we did. My
Sorry.
apologies.
145 for 3. Smith bowls, slog sweep out towards deep square, it's going to fall short. 1 bounce and out to Ollie Price there, and he did a good job there of actually recognising that it was going to fall short of him, because if he tried to go for the catch, that was probably spinning past him and down to the boundary. 146 for 3. And this partnership which came together when the score was 43 for 3, so it's past the 100 mark with that boundary straight down the ground, and they've done it in less than 10 overs as well. Fantastic work from these two. Last ball of the 15th over, Smith bowls wide, hit in the air towards deep cover, and then fielder almost lets it spin past him. Miles Hammond out there had to launch himself against his body weight at the last second to keep it from going past him. It's just the single as the overs completed. 147 for 3, 5 to go.
Shall we switch our headphones
Yes,
back?
let's do that.
That's better. So, 147 for 3, 100 partnership, 104 partnership between these two coming together when Sussex were in a bit of trouble on 43 for 3. They lost 2 wickets on 43. Then John Simpson, who was out for 8, and Daniel Hughes, who was out for a very rapid 34. And if you've just joined us, a very good afternoon. Welcome to Live Cricket on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire and Bristol. Adrian Harms, Ed Seaborn, your commentary team here this afternoon. Good to see Melissa Story popping in to have a natter away to us about the women's game, which Sussex won here by 27 runs a little earlier today.
You'd almost think she'd been on air before.
Yes. Gloucestershire winning the toss here, deciding to bowl first. It's going to be David Payne back into the attack from the Cromwell Road and bowls to James Coles, who pulls a short delivery out onto the leg side and picks up a single, does James Coles. He goes to 43. David Payne's opening 2 overs went for 18. He bowled both of those from the sea end, which for those of you who don't know Hove means he's bowling up the hill. He's got the 4 men inside the circle, which you must have at this stage of proceedings. He's got a short, well, for the left-handed Allsop, there's a short fine leg, a short third man, a backward point and an extra cover, so no one saving one in front of square on the leg side, but 3 fielders patrolling that leg side boundary. The shorter boundary is. In comes Payne, bowls wide outside the off stump, and Allsop is going to be caught by Aman Rao at short third man. And there's a good bit of bowling by David Payne. Tom Allsop looking to pull that one away on the leg side. He got a big leading edge and caught by Aman Rao on his knees just down in front of us here at third man, and so ends a very fine innings by Tom Allsop. I think we have to say, good bit of bowling by Payne.
Yeah, but an excellent partnership that may well go on to be the defining partnership in the match, depending on what Gloucestershire can do. But again, the batter's forcing Jack Taylor's hand. We saw him have to bring Matt Taylor back a little bit earlier than he might have liked for that 3rd over, and forced David Payne back into the attack. But this time the gamble from Jack Taylor to use Payne's 3rd over now has paid off, and the partnership has broken. But it's got towards that stage of the innings now where you've got Tom Clark coming to the crease, you've still got Jack Carson, Nathan McAndrew who can hit long balls to come in, where okay, of course you want to pick up wickets because there's the possibility of really slowing the runs down still at this stage, but it matters a bit less than it would have done a few overs ago. Everybody who comes in now knows they've got licence, and you've still got one set batter in Coles at the other end if Clark just wants to give him the strike.
That partnership was worth 105 in exactly 10 overs. So those two are rattling along, even my bad maths tells me, they're rattling along at 10 and over. Sussex current run rate is 9.7 and over. So the new man in is Tom Clark, as Ed was saying, another left-hander, replacing Tom Allsop, who batted beautifully. In comes Payne, bowls, and Clark is all that hits the stumps. I think Coles was gone. It was a thick inside edge. James Bracey diving across prevented the ball going for 4. He threw the ball at the stumps, and James Coles, who would have called for the single, I think had that hit, I think that would have been very close. I think it would have probably been out.
Yeah, it was a remarkable effort from Bracey because he didn't have time to... Yeah, gone by a long way, but he didn't have time to take his glove off. He's so close to hitting the stumps there, still with his glove on. Fantastic stop to start with.
Payne round the wicket, bowls to James Coles, who hammers that down the ground. Is he going to be caught? He is going to be caught down at long on, and it's amazing how these games can change. Ollie Price taking the catch, thank you Ed, and suddenly a couple of wickets go down and the game has suddenly got a different feel. And although Sussex have still got licence to play their shots, they won't want to feel they lose a cluster of wickets here and finish on 170, 180.
Yeah, classic bit of David Payne bowling there. He likes to go to that cutter into the pitch late on in proceedings if he thinks he's going to get a bit of response, which he did there. And again, yeah, back-to-back wickets, although he'd rather be losing back-to-back wickets with the the current run rate at 9.5. But David Payne in amongst the wickets, as you expect. As I say, it was so rare to see him go wicketless on Friday against Kent. You did feel that wickets were probably due today, so he's got a couple and brings Jack Carson out to the middle. And yeah, as you say, you sort of feel in the 180s, even just into the 190s would be a little bit of a victory from Gloucestershire's point of view, as they were looking, I forget 200. I think if those two had stayed in, Allsop and Holt, they were looking at 220.
Yep, they were. And all of a sudden, you got two new players in, Jack Carson and Tom Clark. And whilst they have got license to play their shots, they haven't got a lot of time to get used to what's going on here. They need to. Sussex are going to get a score around the 200 mark. Payne in again, bowls to Carson, who defends onto the onside, and there is no run. Just the 2 runs off this over so far. Yeah,
and Jack Taylor's gone on the attack as well, because mid-wicket is in pretty close, extra cover himself close, and also the other 2 fielders, even at backward point and mid-off, now walking in from the 30-yard circle. So really trying to squeeze now.
Payne again, bowls, Carson defends onto the onside, picks up his first single, plays it onto the onside, down to long on, picks up a single as Jack Carson brings up 150 for Sussex. But that's a very fine over by David Payne. Pick up a couple of wickets, just 3 runs conceded, and an over that's really brought Gloucestershire back into this game.
Yeah, an over they were absolutely desperate for. They would have liked perhaps it to have come a couple of overs earlier, but that's the problem. They couldn't really bowl David Payne a couple of overs earlier, and they seem to be protecting Aman Rao here by the looks of things. He's only bowled 2 overs. I don't think he's actually bowled too badly, but it's just the case clearly that they're feeling that they need to go to their more senior bowlers to try and see this out, and that includes bowling Tom Smith in the 17th over. But they'll feel happier about this given the fact that there's 2 new batters out there. It'll be interesting to see how Carson and Clark play this, knowing that you've got the spinner bowling at this stage. It feels like another one of those overs that could go either way. Anytime you've got a spinner bowling this late, if somebody takes a liking to them, it can be a big over. Smith bowls, Carson not looking to go big there, just drives it down the ground, back to the bowler, and there's another dot ball.
And these 2 will just feel under a bit of pressure here. I mean, they've only just come in. They shouldn't individually feel under pressure, but they'll just be looking at the scoreboard thinking, we really ought to be looking 180, 190 from where we were. The way these games change so quickly.
Carson facing, Smith bowls to him, comes across his stumps and plays it leg side. Smith actually almost went up for the appeal there, because it was just played from round that front pad by Carson for a single to deep backward square leg. I think as an LBW shout, it's safe to say that one was even more optimistic than the Aman Rao appeal that was going over the top. They haven't been kept too busy in this game, Messrs Peverell and Burns, in this extraordinary, almost fuchsia pink jackets that they have on. As this is driven by Clark straight to extra cover again, there's no run. Score remains 151 for 5.
Important to stop that, because had a yard either side, and that was 4 runs.
It's almost vaguely reminiscent, actually, that shade of pink to the Sussex 50.
Yes, it is.
Kit. Smith bowls, hard sweep from Clark, but it bounds out to the fielder at deep mid-wicket. It is just the single, 152 for 5. Yeah, it's not quite shocking pink. I think it's got to be a little bit more lurid than that. Not too far off actually our accreditation.
Yes, it
this year,
indeed.
Which is extremely bright pink. Nobody can miss that. I think even if you're colour blind, surely it will at least look some sort of shade of vibrant colour. Smith in, driving along the floor down to long off. 153 for 5. Carson to 3, so boundaries just drying up here. And 3 overs to go. Taylor can bowl 1, Payne can bowl 1, and then they've got to get the other one from either Darcy Short or Aman Rao, you would guess. Ben Charlesworth did bowl the other night, but was quite expensive in his third over. Bowled 2 actually really good overs in the middle, and then got targeted in his third as Smith bowls. What a catch!
Wow.
It's another fantastic catch. That was hit like a rocket back at Tom Smith, and it was almost self-protection, because he might have been in some danger of a emergency dental appointment if he'd missed that one, because it was straight back at his head.
Wow.
And he's just plucked it clean, actually two-handed somehow, and to get 2 hands on that in the first instance, extraordinary stuff. But that's a terrific finish to a fine over from Tom Smith, and Sussex, after 17 overs, 153 for 6.
Well, as I say, it just goes to prove how quickly these games can change, because Sussex were 148 for 3 after 15.2 overs. So they've lost 3 wickets for 5, is that right?
I think
in
so,
the last 10 balls.
Yes, they lost 3 for 5 there, and then 2 wickets in 2 deliveries across 2 overs at the end of the 5th and the start of the 6th over. But in between, the 105-run partnership between Alsop and Coles off 10.1 overs.
Well, we were saying how these games can change so quickly. Now Sussex suddenly wouldn't want to find themselves 20 or 30 runs short of where they were. Now 18 balls left. A run a ball gets Sussex to 170, but I think they'll feel they ought to get a few more from where they were. It is going to be Aman Rao who's coming in down the hill to bowl to Jack Carson. Pulls onto the leg side, that's 6 runs. Wow, that's gone many a mile. Can't bowl there to Jack Carson. Pulls it away over square leg for 6. We've spoken so much about Jack Carson turning himself into an all-round cricketer, and that was a shot of someone who can bat a little bit, isn't it? Beautifully played.
Yeah,
Too short.
Well, it's again, it's
poor ball.
in between, isn't it? It's a half tracker from Aman Rao. If he's going to bowl short, it's got to be up rib cage height at least, if not getting towards head height. Whether it was an attempted bouncer that wasn't short enough, or an attempted back of a length ball that was too short, it ends up on that in-between length. And in this format, it doesn't matter if somebody's new to the crease, they'll still have a go at it.
Sussex needed that. Rowan again bowls to Carson, who's trying to pull again onto the onside. Well, Nathan McAndrew had backed up miles down the pitch. Aman Rao was round very quickly, and Jack Carson sent McAndrew back, and I think that was probably the right decision.
Yeah, well, it would have been interesting to see if Rao would actually have thrown that if he'd picked it up, because it would have been one of those where there would definitely have been a single to long off. Or
for the overthrow.
Yes, long off it is backing up, because there's no way he could have got in to cut that off, and they'd have been halfway down the pitch anyway.
Rao in again over the wicket, bowls to Carson, who hammers that away onto the leg side, and he's caught at deep mid-wicket, pulled away by Jack Carson, and Sussex, who were in a very good position, no more than 10 minutes ago, have suddenly lost 4 wickets. Jack Carson, the latest man to go. Rao picks up a wicket, pulled away by Carson, caught on the deep mid-wicket boundary, and Sussex all of a sudden are 158 for 7, having at one stage been 148 for 3.
Yeah, rather an easier catch for Miles Hammond, that one, than his first one, which is a one-handed blinder running back and across from mid-off off John Simpson. But I mean, again, it was a delivery that you thought probably could have gone, but it just seemed to stick in the pitch, and that's something that is going to be interesting to see as the game goes on. Talking about the fact that this is a used surface, and I don't know whether that was the first indication of it there, as the ball gets a little bit softer as it's been battered to pieces by the Sussex pair of Alsop and Coles especially, but it just really stopped on Carson, and he had to try and absolutely muscle it, and didn't get anywhere near clearing the boundary. But that is the first professional wicket for Aman Rao, so a proud moment for him. He was very unlucky not to have picked up a wicket in the first game, had a couple just fall short of fielders, but he's got his first one here.
The new man in is Ollie Robinson. Sussex have lost 4 for 11. Rao is in. Robinson plays that to backward point. Good diving stop there by Tom Smith, prevents more than a couple of runs. Sussex to 160 for 7. 2 balls remaining of this over, and then just 2 more overs remaining. Sussex, that wonderful partnership, 105 between James Coles and Tom Alsop. I say at one stage 148 for 3. But Gloucestershire have fought back. Rao running him down the hill. There's a hush around Hove as Rao is in. Bowls to McAndrew, pulls onto the leg side, picks up one. They'll think about two. And they decide to come back for the second. They need to be quick. The throw comes in. Bracey demolishes the stumps. But those long legs of Nathan McAndrew got him back. And he's on his way with two. 162 for 7.
That's where the umpire just says, you only need to remove the bails, James.
Yes, he did rather demolish them, didn't he? I'm just trying to work out here. So it was 148 for 3 after 15.1 overs. So in the course of about 18 balls, the whole course of this game has changed, which so often happens in T20 cricket. We've seen it so many times down the seasons. As Rao is in, over the wicket, bowls to McAndrew, who plays that without timing into the offside throw, comes into the non-striker's end. It missed the stumps. And I think Gloucestershire will be pleased to get out of that over with the young man Rao bowling the 18th. It's never easy.
No.
163 for 7.
Exactly, and Matt Taylor and David Payne, they would hope, sure hands for the last couple. That probably could have been a run backing up there, and actually that would have been the first blip for Hammond in the field, because actually it was his job to get in a little bit from that boundary.
Did you make a note of the score at the 15th?
I did, yes. 15th. It was 147 for 3.
Thank you. So at the end of the 15th, 147 for 3. At the end of the 18th, 163 for 7. So Sussex have lost 2, 3 in those 18 balls.
It's 3 for 16, isn't it?
Well,
sorry, 4
for
for 16.
4 for 16, yeah. It has changed the game.
It has. David Payne for the penultimate over. It's McAndrew facing. Payne into McAndrew. Heaves this one high in the air. This will take some catching, but it is a catching opportunity for Ollie Price on the boundary, and he pouches it. A third wicket for David Payne, and Nathan McAndrew now perishes, and Sussex, in their desperate bid to try and still score near that 190 mark, are in danger of even falling short of 180 here. And this is the problem when you start losing wickets and you get towards the lower order. Do you stick or twist? And well, McAndrew's twisted, and he's had to twist back to the pavilion because it's 163 for 8.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's now 5 for 16 Sussex have lost. And actually reminiscent of this game here a few years ago, a game that you and I remember all too well, when Sussex were cruising to victory and lost sort of 7 for 30 or
Tom
something.
Alsop got a 50 in that one as well, and it was remarkable. I mean, they needed something like 36 from 48 balls with 8 wickets in hand, and Gloucestershire ended up winning the game.
They did.
Remarkable game of cricket. But again, from a Sussex point of view, I guess they've just got to hope that actually they would have taken, I don't know if they would have done or not, but maybe they would have taken 170 at the start of the innings. We won't know what they would have made of their own pitch here, but they ought to have known what a pass score was, and they may still feel that they've got a chance of defending this. But it's Tamal Mills out at number 10 facing David Payne, and Mills guides a single towards point, and it's 164 for 8. Actually, the previous year before that ridiculous game, Tamal Mills, I remember, got his T20 career best as
You've got an amazing
Gloucestershire
memory.
just held on that time themselves, having had another Glenn Phillips special in the first innings. And it actually was the first, I've never seen Tamal Mills strike the ball like that. If he could do that here, then 180 is still back on.
But I wonder whether Sussex here need to make sure they back their overs here.
Yeah.
There are 11 balls left, take 11 runs.
Well, Ollie Robinson decides to go for the reverse ramp, which rather indicates to me that he's still thinking in terms of 4s and 6s, but he misses it completely and it goes through to Bracey.
So I'd have thought from here on in, 10 balls, pick up 10 singles, which there are around the ground. That gets you to 175. What you don't want to do is suddenly lose a couple of wickets.
Yeah.
And find you're bowled out with balls to spare.
3 to go in the 19th over. Payne in, slower ball, dinked away just short of backward point. That was nearly catching practice for Tom Smith. He just got little enough bat on it in the end, Ollie Robinson, and Payne was eyeing up a third wicket. And it's been the reverse, actually, of his game the other day, where he bowled his first 2 overs for 5 and ended up going over 10 runs and over. But here, his first couple of overs are quite expensive. He's gone for absolutely nothing since and taken 3 wickets. Payne bowls very short, probably too short. Yeah, it's wided. Payne looks up to the heavens, but so was Ollie Robinson, really. Barely had to duck it, and it's 165 for 8. Speaking of duck it, what's the England score, by the way? England are 136 for 5, almost at the halfway stage, chasing 309 to win. Joe Root's 61 not out. Payne bowls very wide. Again, might have been a wide if Robinson hadn't hit it, but he does put bat to ball and picks up a single to deep cover.
I think it would have been a wide.
166 for 8. Yeah, I mean, it's always tricky at this stage, isn't it? Because you look so foolish if you leave a ball and then the umpire says it's not a wide, and you think, oh, I should just wasted that delivery. But at this stage, as you say, they're just looking to back the overs out and pick up what runs they can, you would think. Last ball of the 19th over, 166 for 8. Again, it's very wide, swing and a miss, and called okay by umpire Peverell. So I think Gloucestershire maybe getting away with one. They haven't seen a replay, but it did look very wide. But I suppose the only thing is you've got a tail ender out there who's probably not moving his feet particularly close to the ball and was looking to wipe it across to the leg side, and it was way outside the off stump. We are just getting a look there. No, I think that's absolutely fine, actually. It's gone well outside the markers on the angle, but it's at the point that it passes the attempted shot of Mills that it's judged on, so I think just about okay. And it's 166 for 8, Sussex, 1 over to go.
I'm just thinking about David Payne. His first 2 overs went for 18, bring him back, and he's picked up 3 for 6 in his last 2 overs. That's the experience of David Payne. He's a very fine bowler.
And even as experienced as he is, I'm sure he'll be really pleased, because he did go for some runs at the death, unusually. I mean, to be honest, everybody did, but he's bowled very well at the back end today.
Here comes Taylor, bowls to Ollie Robinson, who cuts, and he's going to pick up a boundary past the diving Payne at shortish third man. Cut away by Ollie Robinson, made room for himself and picks up a boundary, and a welcome boundary for Sussex at that.
Yeah, and not much that Matt Taylor can do about that. Ollie Robinson has played a cut shot from 2 feet outside leg stump and has placed it perfectly between short third and backward point. You just can't really do anything right some days as a bowler.
Taylor, left arm around the wicket, in and bowls, and that's down the leg side, and that's going to be a wide. So, as far as Sussex are concerned, a profitable final over so far, with 5 runs coming off of it. At the end of the 14th, actually, at the end of the 13th, Sussex were 131 for 3.
Yeah, 147 for 3 after the 15th.
Yeah.
Sort of swings and roundabouts there, because he went so far across Robinson, you could tell that Matt Taylor was thinking he was going to bowl your leg stump. You just miss it fractionally, and Hump's arms goes out.
Taylor in bowls, that's another one down the leg side. So Ollie Robinson was stepping away miles to leg, and at the minute Taylor's following him. Well, these are all vital runs for Sussex. Still 5 balls remaining in the over, and 6 runs taken off the over so far.
Yeah, I mean, he's moving so far, Robinson. I think Taylor, easy to say, but after the 4 and then the 2 wides, I think Taylor's probably just got to bowl it where Robinson isn't, rather than trying to follow him.
Taylor in again, bowls. Robinson tries the ramp, and he's caught by James Bracey, and Ollie Robinson goes. And Taylor picks up a wicket. Robinson goes for 6. Sussex now 172 for 9.
Extraordinary dismissal. I mean,
I didn't see where it went, first of all.
It couldn't have looped any more gently to James Bracey. Just hit straight up the chimney and straight back down again, as he was looking for that little reverse scoop over short third. I suppose again he's got licence, so last man comes in. It's not too often that number 11 gets a match, so I'm sure Brad Curry will be enjoying this.
Well, 4 balls he's got to face. What do you think? Just push 4 singles and finish up with 175? I mean, or do you have a dip?
I think he's probably got to get Mills on strike at least this first ball, doesn't he? I mean, Mills has got the power to clear the boundary rope, so I don't know. I think you probably get close, don't you? Maybe get to the last couple of balls.
Anyway, in comes Taylor. 4 balls to go in the innings. Around the wicket, bowls, and that's down the leg side. And is that going to be another? Why did it flick the thigh pad?
Heard a noise there, yeah.
Flick the thigh pad. Tamil Mills was halfway down the wicket. He was looking to pick up a single and get himself on strike, but it's a dot ball. Welcome dot ball for Gloucestershire. I think at this stage, Gloucestershire will be the happier of the two, because I think they'll feel that they would probably have been chasing well over 200 when Coles and Allsop were really flying along. But as you say, you never quite know how the pitch is going to play. Taylor again, Bowls, and Curry clips this onto the onside and picks up a single, so he's on his way. 173 for 9. And from a Sussex perspective as well, you might think, well, having been asked to bat first, if someone had said, would you take 175? Jamal Mills might have said, yeah, maybe.
It's hard to know, isn't it?
There's a short leg side boundary, you know. Just get things maybe slightly short here. We shall see. But that's from where they were. Taylor in bowls to Mills with a swish and a miss from the Sussex skipper. That would have probably ended up in the Cromwell Road if he'd have hit. That probably gone over the flats. But it's a dot ball.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's almost no use sometimes just reading a pitch from here. I think you sort of know, at least from the games that these two have played, that there is often that balance between bat and ball here, but I don't know if that bears out across all the games.
Taylor in bowls. Mills heaves that one away. Now is he going to get caught? It's gone all the way down to long on. Well held, and I have to say the Gloucestershire fielding has been absolutely excellent here. They've held on to their catches, really. Miles Hammond setting the scene earlier on. Sussex bowled out for 173 with... was it the last
that was
ball?
the last
That
ball,
was the last ball. Jamal Mills goes. So really, I think from 147 for 3, bowled out for 173. Sussex have lost 7 for 26. And I think you have to say, whatever total Sussex have finished up with, they've got to be disappointed, I think.
Well, yeah, I think they'll certainly be disappointed to have fallen away as much as they have. They won't be thinking about that too much at the end of the day if that proves to be a good enough score. But Gloucestershire also, I think, you know, so often, and it's not just us, it's a cliche to sit here and talk about the momentum going into the second innings, and, you know, sometimes when it even leaves your mouth as the irritating commentator who spams the cliche, you think, does it actually really make any difference? But any time you commentate with a current pro, they will say that. They will say that it actually does make a difference to the second innings, how you finished the first. But we've been lucky enough to see some fantastic games of T20 cricket here in recent times. We know that there is the possibility for those sorts of wild fluctuations, and if it's as hard for Gloucestershire to start their second innings as it seemed to be for Sussex to finish their first, then it could still be a tricky chase. But it's one of those in-between sorts of scores that so often produces an exciting game.
It certainly does. Well, Ed and I are going to take a breather and have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I probably need one to clear my throat. I apologise for coughing away. So we'll be back with you. Gloucestershire need 174 to win, and it could well be another exciting Sussex-Gloucestershire finish.
Weak website? It could be a superstar. We do A/B testing, personalisation, social proof, product recommendations, baseline analysis to bring your bottom line over the line. Visit webtrends-optimise.com or call 0333 444 5502 today.
Well, a very good afternoon. Welcome back to Hove, where the players are very quickly out on the field. One or two people have been in touch to say there's a slight distortion on the microphones, particularly during the exciting moments. So if you're experiencing that, our apologies. We've done some sort of jiggery-pokery here with the microphones, and hopefully everything will be okay. If you're only just joining us here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire and BBC Radio Bristol, I'm Adrian Harms, Ed Seaborn next to me. Sussex, who were at one stage going along very nicely, 147 for 3, bowled out on the final ball of the 20th over for 173. Quite the collapse. They lost 7 for 26. And whilst 173 looks a decent score, I think, Ed, that Sussex have got to feel disappointed about that.
Yeah, I think that they'll feel disappointed about the way that it's turned out, but if they can put that out of their minds, they might yet feel they've got enough.
Ollie Robinson is going to come into bowl the opening ball of the innings to Miles Hammond, who's forward and plays it down the ground. He's got a bit of a move on here. Tamal Mills is in very quickly, gets in the throw and hits the stumps at the striker's end. And Cameron Bancroft needed to get a bit of a move on then, but I think he was fairly safely home as a run off the first ball of the innings. The stump was actually knocked out of the ground. And Ollie Robinson wanders back to his mark. It's very, very windy. Look at the trees outside of the ground, and they're really bending and blowing in the wind. You can see on the veranda, on the balconies, the verandas up there are sort of blowing in the breeze as well. So it's a very breezy afternoon here at Hove. As in comes Robinson over the wicket, bowls, and Bancroft is stylishly forward, plays into the covers, and there is no run.
I mentioned Gloucestershire's rather topsy-turvy innings themselves against Kent the other evening. 64 for 3 in the first 10, and then 140 runs scored in the back half, and Bancroft just struggled a little bit for his timing on that occasion, but here he might feel a bit more comfortable because he's got a few more deliveries that he might be able to have a look at, not chasing over 200.
Robinson on his way again, bowls, and Bancroft works this one onto the onside. They've taken one, they'll think about two. There won't be two there because Alsop is very, very quick across the ground. It's good fielding, good throw as well into John Simpson, so just the single conceded. Gloucestershire 2 without loss.
Be interesting to see what movement there is as well, because David Payne was getting some swing early on, although Daniel Hughes seemed to quite enjoy that left arm away swing that Payne was bowling to him. We'll see whether there's that same amount of movement with the new ball for Robinson. It'll be a handful if there is.
He's coming around the wicket to the left-handed Miles Hammond. He's in the bowls, and Hammond plays firmly into the offside. There is no run, fielded there by James Coles. Ollie Robinson, who was an absolute revelation for Sussex in this competition last year, and really one of the key reasons that Sussex made it all the way through to finals day. He hadn't really played much T20 cricket, but last year coming into the side was tremendous, and bowled very well at Lord's the other night.
It's funny, you think what makes that difference? Is it
Totally.
all up in the head, or is it the analyst saying you've got to bowl there more and it working?
Robinson in again, bowls. Oh, that's a super delivery, isn't it? And Hammond plays all around that, go past the leg stump through to keeper Simpson, and there is no run. I think as well, because at that stage of his career, Ollie was very much around the England squad and centrally contracted, so it really wasn't down to Sussex when he played and what formats he's played. And now he isn't centrally contracted. Well, he wasn't centrally contracted last year, but he was clearly out of the England reckoning. But he bowled beautifully in this competition and fielded very well. As I remember, a brilliant run out he got down at Bristol last year against Gloucester. He's in and bowls, and Hammond is forward and punches that down to mid-off, fielded there by Tamal Mills, who sort of shovels the ball in towards the stumps. Good opening over as far as Sussex is concerned, just 3 runs conceded. Hammond on 2, Bancroft on 1.
Well, I mention it just to draw the ire of people, but I did notice that the wind predictor, which always is guaranteed to wind people up, was mentioning something like 80% Gloucestershire victory. I would love to know how the wind predictor determines that, because it has absolutely no idea how this pitch is playing in this second innings and all that, but there we go. It's
Well,
to put a number to something.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. That does seem very high, doesn't it? I mean, 174 runs to win a T20, still a lot of runs.
Yeah, even in this day and age. Brad Curry to bowl from the Cromwell Road end. Left arm over, keeper up to the stumps immediately, As he bowls now to Hammond, it's on leg stump, turned away gently towards mid-on, and there is no run, so no real shots in anger yet from Hammond and Bancroft, but you sort of expect it a little bit with these two. Even with Hammond in recent times, he's had a reputation as a bit of a dasher at the top of the order, but last year really settled in and produced a real volume of runs. Curry bowls to him, and this is driven past extra cover but not past mid-off. Excellent hand from Tamal Mills, diving away to his right. He's a right arm thrower, isn't he? Even though he bowls left arm, but even so, it's a good stop. Got down
Was a
well,
good stop.
without loss.
Big man very quickly down, wasn't he? And prevented probably a boundary, because the outfield is very quick, although he's hitting up the hill. That was a very important stop. Skipper setting the example.
Yes, it's good to get that in early, I suppose, isn't it? 4 for no wicket. Bancroft to face, keeper up for him as well. Curry goes in and bowls, width on offer, slashed away, but straight to the fielder at deep backward point by Bancroft. So again, just the single, deep backward point and deep square leg. You see it pretty much across the board now for everybody bar the very quick bowlers. It's just one of those things that's changed as, I suppose, more T20 cricket has been played, because you always used to see the two fielders fine still, like you would in a 50-over game out on the boundary, but nowadays they look to protect square of the wicket from ball one pretty much. Curry in, and Hammond winds up for the big one. He's hit a long way up, and the ball is going to land safely, but it's also not going to go to the boundary. It went an awfully long way up, and I think it might even have sent a few of those gulls swarming as the ball went about their height. 2 runs taken.
Well, something to say, we are suddenly inundated with seagulls, aren't we? There's about 50 seagulls flying around the ground.
I don't know if they were put off by a white object flying through the air. They thought, what is this? What is this rival gull? Small gull that we can prey on. 7 without loss. Curry bowls on the hip of Hammond. He tries to whip it away and misses it. A bit irritated by that one, because it was a scoring opportunity, even if only for a single. That fielder out at deep backward square. We did see actually Gloucestershire's women a few times. That ball that was just dug in, they were hit midships a few times, looking to play exactly the shot that Hammond has attempted there. So maybe just a little bit of an adjustment needed from sort of pitches they've been practicing on at Bristol, perhaps. 7 without loss. Last ball of the second over, and Hammond flicks this one aerially. It's travelling well. It's travelling for 6. Over, wide, long on, and it really was not a ball that had too much wrong with it, but just pitched up that bit more, and Hammond getting his hands through it. You're just picking that one up cleanly over a long boundary. 13 without loss after 2 overs. Interestingly, the graphic on the scoreboard suggested 5-wicket haul, so I'm not sure if it's Robinson who's on for the 5-wicket haul or Brad Curry, but we'll see.
Beautifully timed, wasn't it, by Miles Hammond? And actually an over that I don't think was a bad over from Brad Curry. Suddenly goes for 10. Robinson carrying on from the C end of the ground, running into bowl to Cameron Bancroft, who looks for the reverse and gets it. Well, a ramp shot. John Simpson wasn't far away from that, to be honest, another foot or so, but it was premeditated from Cameron Bancroft. He'd made up his mind pretty early he was going to play the shot. He ramped it, and that really wasn't far away from Simpson at all. Nonetheless, it's a boundary to Bancroft, who goes to 6, and Gloucestershire to 17 without loss.
I did think Simpson might get there to start with, but he actually got quite a lot of bat on it, and the thing that saved him was he was able to put a little bit of wrist work into it. If he just sort of left the bat there and had it ramp off it, that probably would have been out.
Robinson in again, bowls to Bancroft, good delivery, right up in the block hole, plays it to mid-on. Tamal Mills is in and fields, but not before Bancroft has managed to nip through for a single. Bancroft goes to 7. Gloucestershire to 18 without loss, in pursuit of 174th win. If you're just joining us here on BBC Radio Sussex, Bristol and Gloucestershire, Sussex really subsiding from 147 for 3 at the end of the 15th over to 173 all out. Partnership of 105 between James Coles and Tom Alsop. Robinson in and bowls, and Hammond plays slightly across the line. He's going to get a single down to deep square leg, fielded out there by Harrison Ward. One more to the total. 3 wickets for David Payne, 3 wickets for Matt Taylor.
Yeah,
Gloucestershire now 19 without loss.
probably the most encouraging thing from that bowling effort is to see the old firm of last year, especially with Payne and Taylor finishing 1 and 2 in the country in terms of wickets, back to their wicket-taking form.
Robinson hands away from us. Ingham bowls to Bancroft, and he knocks out his off stump. That's a good delivery by Ollie Robinson, and Cameron Bancroft looked at him and said, how on earth did that get through his defensive? That's a good delivery by Ollie Robinson. Maybe just nip back a little, but off stump out of the ground. Let's see this again, and there we are, cartwheeling out of the ground. Good bit of bowling. Here we are, let's see it again. Lovely bit of bowling.
How many rotations there? I mean, you get the rotations on the cartwheels of the stump. That's gone end over end a good 5 or 6 times, and well, what a fine delivery. It just completely fucks Bancroft, and it's not too often that you see a top order bat like Bancroft just completely clean bowled like that. And it just seemed to bounce a little bit, and I don't think it was the bounce that did him, because it seemed to have gone sideways a little bit, but Bancroft all at sea, and Gloucestershire's opening partnership, which was such a key to their success last year, has yet really to fully fire. But Darcy Short has come out at number 3 today. I mentioned up top that he came out at 7, mostly due to the proximity of the game to his arrival into the country, so he's in a more natural position here of 3, a man who has scored over 3,000 runs in the Big Bash, which puts him in the top 5 in terms of all-time scorers in that competition.
Is he here for the whole competition?
Yes, he is. Yes, at least for the group stage.
Right,
and of course, as you know, one of the sticking points for this competition still is the fact that finals day and the quarter-finals are still in September.
Robinson into bowl to Short. Well, he has looks to pull that one away on the leg side, and that was an odd shot to play first up to Robinson, and Sussex were up for the catch behind. Short wasn't going anywhere, but he was going to swing that one away over the leg side, which was an adventurous shot off the first ball.
Yes, it was confident. It may have possibly been overconfident, maybe just catching a little bit of pocket or hip or something like that. You'd imagine there must have been a noise for Sussex to go up for, but Simpson didn't seem at all disappointed when it was given not out. Just threw the ball away to Short, fine leg fielder.
Robinson, fine over, comes in again, bowls to Short, who plays firmly into the covers, and there is no run, and that's really very good from Ollie Robinson, who was in for a boundary off the first ball of the over, but responds with a wicket. And at the end of the 3rd over, Gloucestershire are 19 for 1, with Hammond on 12 and Short yet to score.
Yeah, and it was really important over there, because you felt with the 6 from Hammond ending the previous one, another good over there for Gloucestershire. I know you're only 3 overs in, but if you feel as though you maybe left a few runs out there, it just continues that trajectory of the game going towards Gloucestershire. So an important over, and Gloucestershire needing over 9s again now as it is driven in the air. First ball of the new Curry over, one bounce up to Mills at mid-off, who's quite deep on the edge of the circle there. But Hammond, even with that 1-6, maybe has bought himself that by just pushing that mid-off fielder back, although actually they've had their mid-off set pretty deep throughout, because Hammond has not really gone fully after a couple of drives and has hit 2 singles to that mid-off fielder, but he did hit that one aerially for quite some time. Change of field, there are 2 back on the onside now, nobody back on the offside. Curry bowls on leg stump, flicked away by Hammond. He's hit that fine enough that it'll pick up probably a couple of runs at least. That will be the sum of it, as Allsop slides across, again, as we've mentioned, this pristine outfield, and cuts off the boundary. So 21 for 1. Hammond has 14, and in the early stages of the game Friday, it was Hammond who was pretty much playing the lone hand until Ollie Price came out and really got going, struck his first T20 50. Curry into Hammond, who hits straight and high. It's going to be 1 bounce, 2 bounces over the rope for 4. The only question really was how many. When Hammond hit that one, it wasn't ever going to be caught by mid-on. He's just lifted that one over the top. It's 25 for 1.
Yeah, 6 off the over so far. Good shot, wasn't it? Straight down the ground.
Yeah, it's a good place to hit, isn't it? I mean, very few places in the country where hitting there isn't a good idea. 25 for 1. Curry into Hammond, who turns him towards mid-on. Again, very deep. There's not even going to be a throw from the mid-on fielder, so they'll sprint through for that single. 26 for 1. And Darcy Short looking for his first run of this game. Did strike a couple of meaty blows in his slightly uncustomary role of number 7. Finished with 19 from 11 balls. As he's facing up now to Curry down the leg side, wide is signalled by umpire Burns, so 27 for 1, and Gloucestershire doing all their scoring from one end at this point. Robinson surely will have a third over in the play,
yes, I would have thought so. I mean, they've tended to use it, sometimes he bowls 2, sometimes he's bowled 3. I just wonder here, having picked up a wicket, whether they might just feel that to give him a third. Ground staff just making their way down the end here. Generally that means it's going to rain, but I don't think it's going to rain today.
I think it's safe to say, looking at the skies that we can see, it's unlikely. Short won't get a run there either as he pokes it towards short mid-wicket, unless there is a gigantic thundercloud directly behind us out over the sea. But again, I don't think that's too likely given the direction of the sun. Oh, that's not very nice.
Yeah,
tapping the little pole that holds the advertising board in place.
It could be because of the wind.
Yes, you don't want the sponsors, especially the competition sponsors board falling over. They won't be happy with that. Final ball of the 4th over. Curry to Short, who pulls that away in the air, straight down the throat of deep backward square. And Darcy Short, the latest Gloucestershire batter to stare in disbelief. But Gloucestershire are in some trouble now. They've lost both their overseas Australians. Again, we've seen that quite a few times today, where it looks like it's a ball that's there for the shot, but he's just not placed it at all. And so Allsop out there, he just...
Tom Allsop with a catch, yeah, it was. And it's interesting, because he played a similar shot, didn't he, to Ollie Robinson first up. I think he could I don't know whether he didn't realise that Tom Allsop was there. The way he just stood there and looked as if to say, I can't quite believe that. Maybe I can't quite believe I played that shot. Because you're overseas, you know. Either way,
it was there for a any sort of a shot really. If he'd looked to really club it in front of square, he probably would have got hold of it. If he'd looked to help it behind square, even more, then again boundary would probably have been on offer. But just planted it straight to the fielder, and I don't know. You start to wonder: is there a little bit of just up and down in this surface that's causing some of these cross-batted shots to end up in fielders' hands?
Well, Ollie Robinson is going to have a third over in the power play. Right arm around the wicket, comes in and bowls, and forward comes Hammond. Plays to mid-off. Tamil Mills is there, gets in the throw, but they go through a well-judged single. Gloucestershire to 28 for 2 in the 5th over. I just wonder as well, I mean, Ollie Robinson might well have bowled a third over anyway, but I just wonder with that wicket being taken, Mills thinks, I'm definitely going to bowl him a third one now, because if he can get another wicket down here in the power play, just for comparative purposes, at the end of the 4th over for Sussex were 32 for 1. Gloucestershire 27 for 2 at that stage. Robinson's got a slip in place, which is interesting, for Ollie Price, who's yet to score. Robinson is in. Bowls and defends right in behind that, plays into the offside. There is no run. And yet again, Ollie Robinson bowling very nicely here for Sussex. Sorry for the banging which is going on down below. It's the member of the grounds team.
Yes, he's just looking to extract a megalodon from the layers beneath Hove. I don't know what fossils might be lying under there.
Yeah, he's
a few in the commentary boxes, but no, I'm only joking.
He's finished his work now. As Robinson in glorious late afternoon sunshine here on the 1st of June runs away from us and bowls, and Price is beaten outside the off stump. Good delivery by Ollie Robinson, who's just pitching it up. He's typical Ollie Robinson. He's just looking to hit the top of off stump, and Price rather caught betwixt and between with that shot. The ball rattles through into the gloves of Simpson. There's no run.
Yeah, and it's a tricky position for Gloucestershire here because you don't want to lose 3 wickets in the power play. It's something that the players know as well. And although Sussex did end up losing 3, they then had a massive partnership after that, which rather negated the fact that they'd lost 3 in the power play. So you've got to score because you're behind the rate, but 2 wickets down already.
Robinson in bowls, and in behind that is Price, plays it to backward point. Again, there is no run. Very good again from Robinson. Just the single off the over so far. And you often wonder when Robinson is bowling, whether as the batting side you think, well, I tell you what, he's picked up a wicket, he's bowling well, let's just see him off, let's just get rid.
It's just so hard to get him away, isn't it? Because pretty much every ball it feels as though it's on that hard length, which you can't really get on the front foot to and start planting him straight, and it doesn't give you much width either.
Yep, he's in again. Bowls, and Price tries the ramp, he sits on the pad, there's a loud appeal. Robinson is virtually begging the umpire to give that out, but it's not given. Let's see that again, and he's just inquiring, is Ollie Robinson, as to perhaps
Do you know
where
what,
that was
actually,
pitching.
the umpire doesn't have to tell you why he's not giving it out.
It did look as if it was, well, it did look a good shot. Let's just see it again. I don't know whether the guys might be able to get that up again.
I think the only thing that could have saved him was either, well, I suppose actually a couple of things, either whether he got some bat on it, or did Ben Peverell just think that was outside off stump.
Well, it looked a very good shout, didn't it?
It's smashing into the stump,
It
so you
is.
can say that.
Robinson in again, bowls to Price, full toss driven into the offside. Oh, it's a misfield now, that's sloppy. Very unusual. I think that's Jack Carson in there. He'll be very disappointed with himself for that. Either way, it is the end of Robinson's over, an over that cost 2 runs. Sussex have reduced Gloucestershire to 29 for 2 at the end of the 5th over. At the same stage, Sussex were 43 for 2.
Yeah, and so behind the 8 ball here, Gloucestershire with the required rate as it did the other day, just starting really to climb. It's almost at 10s, 9 2/3 basically at the moment. And the last over of the power play to be bowled by Tamal Mills, so some pace on, although maybe not if Tamal Mills goes to that trademark slower ball. See how early he goes to. He's bowling round the wicket first up here to Ollie Price, in and bowls and turned off the leg stump towards short mid-wicket. Oh, if that had been fielded cleanly, that might have been a seriously close run thing for a run out. Jack Carson, the fielder there, and they just pretty much sprinted straight away, and Carson just couldn't quite keep it close enough to him. But I didn't think there was a run there off the bat. Gloucestershire to 30 for 2. Everything looking under control after 2 overs, but wickets continuing to fall, and Hammond on 20 really providing the key to the early part of this innings now. Mills into Hammond, short, blasted away through mid-wicket for 4. There's a huge gap there if Hammond can access that leg side, which he can there. There's nobody between quite a straight mid-wicket and a deep backward square, and although it wasn't hit absolutely out of the middle from Hammond, I think he also slightly rolled the wrists on that, knowing where the gap was. And again, there's a little bit of maturity from Hammond, knowing that he can't get out, so just take the 4 rather than trying to do what James Coles did a couple of times and hit the clock tower. 34 for 2. Mills runs in, bowls to Hammond, another short ball hit in the air, straight to mid-wicket and gone. And Hammond drops his bat on the ground, knowing exactly what he's just done. Mentioned it the previous ball, he got that right, and he's got that one all wrong. He's tried to clear that fielder, who actually did move, I think, a couple of steps.
He did.
Towards a more conventional mid-wicket, and if he'd stayed where he was the previous ball, he might not have taken that catch. But 34 for 3, Gloucestershire are in really serious trouble now.
Yes, he's pulled it straight to James Coles there at mid-wicket, who took the catch. Well, I mean, you called it ahead, actually. You know, the previous one, when he'd hit it for 4, and you said he knows he mustn't get out, and he did. We've seen some strange dismissals in this match, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, he's tried to drag that from a long way outside the off stump, which I think is part of his doing it. You can see it's hit towards the toe end at the back because he's tried to fetch it from further outside the off stump. So again, good bowling from Mills to put the ball there, but Hammond just cannot get out in that situation. I mean, we said it in that Sussex innings as well when Coles went pretty much straight after Allsop. That's not a dismissal that you'd be happy about with as a coach, and I think that's a similar thing there. Gloucestershire needing basically 10s, 3 down inside 6 overs, and Jack Taylor has come out to the middle, so ahead of James Bracey and ahead of Ben Charlesworth. Mills round the wicket to Taylor, who outside edges this one down to short third. It flies into the hands of Daniel Hughes on a couple of bounces. We'll get a high five from Tom Clark, who is fielding at slip. And again, just in the space of a delivery or two, I think that early boundary in the over from Hammond, a big last over of the power play from Gloucestershire, and they'd start to be looking back on top. But when I say back on top, I mean certainly not much worse than in the balance, 2 down and a good 6th over. But now Gloucestershire just cannot lose another wicket here. Mills into Taylor, turned into the onside towards deep backward square, and he has to satisfy himself with just the 1 run to get off the mark. 35 for 3, and the last ball of the power play coming up. 37 for 2, Gloucestershire's power play on Friday, so again in need of some improvement in that area. It is only 2 games, and we know how quickly T20 can swing, but we need to have a little bit of a look at what's gone wrong in those 2 power plays, and there won't be a run to end the power play as Ollie Price just stands tall and defends back towards mid-on. So it is 35 for 3 after the first 6 overs, and both teams losing 3 in the power play, but Sussex had 18 more runs on the board at this stage. And Gloucestershire are going to require the sort of partnership that we saw from Messrs Coles and Allsop. They put on 105 together in 10 overs and a ball. To do it almost backwards now, Gloucestershire, in terms of accelerating outside the power play. But things do change a bit because you've got spin coming straight on into the attack in the form of James Coles. So some left arm spin ahead of the off spin of Carson.
Well, he's in and bowls, and his bowler picks up a wicket first ball, and James Coles does the trick, and all of a sudden Gloucester are in all sorts of trouble. I was just going to say, actually, Ed, that Matt Taylor always seems to make runs against Sussex, but not today.
No, he does seem to like this ground. You're right. I mean, he broke the record for the fastest list A100 for Gloucestershire on this ground just a couple of years ago. He scored runs in both of those nail-biting T20s that we've been talking about earlier. So to get him, I think Sussex will feel that they are, if not home, they are at least halfway home now, because we've got now Ben Charlesworth coming to the middle, and 140 best part of almost runs still required. And over the last 2 innings combined, I think, what's that, 61 for 10 in the last 11 overs of the ball of the 2 innings combined.
Yeah, but that's amazing. Yeah, I don't think it's a poor pitch, but I think it's just been some poor shots. I mean, when Miles Hammond was out, he was furious with himself. Bancroft was bowled by a very good one by Ollie Robinson. Darcy Short played a poor shot, didn't he? In the Sussex innings, there were some poor shots as well. So I just wonder whether the pressure of the situation gets to, they just do rash things. In comes Coles, bowls, forward comes Charlesworth. I just saw a moment there's going to be some hesitation and a possible run out there. Brad Curry was closing. Oh, sorry, Tamal Mills was closing in on that. Either way, it's a single.
Outside edge
on his way
from Charlesworth.
Yes, it was.
It was looking to play into the leg side, and it caught, I think, the outside edge and down to backward point. So, really showing again uncertainty. Charlesworth would not have expected to be out there in the 7th over.
In comes Coles, bowls, and pulled on. That's gone many a mile. That's a big hit by Ollie Price. Well, he's not going down without a fight, and that's it out the ground. belted away over mid-wicket, and that's probably a bigger blow as we've seen today, to be honest with you, Ed.
It's easily cleared the clock tower that was peppered a couple of times, hit halfway up the bricks of the flat over there. He recognised that ball was heading towards his leg stump quite quickly, did Price, and we're going to need a new ball, I think, because that's smashed off the brickworks and left the playing area. But he did that to Matt Parkinson on Friday 4 times in an over. Slog swept him over what was actually the longer side of the ground at Bristol, and really took a liking to his leg spin. But again, it's reached that sort of stage where really you need 10 and over, so there's almost no point in just trying to block and nudge around for too long.
So James Colsey's picked up a wicket with his first ball, but subsequently been hit for 6. Here he comes, bowls, and Price is at it again, but this time he doesn't time it at all. We'll have to see whether that came off a bit of a pad, or it came off a bit of pad, or a bit of thigh pad. The ball bounces over the head of John Simpson and goes for a leg by, total to 43 for 4.
Went to the same school in Oxford, James Coles and Ollie Price.
Yes, I remember that. Good memory you've got. Coles again, bowls, and Charlesworth punches through the onside, picks up a single. Now, the first time I saw Ben Charlesworth bat here was in a 50-over game a few years ago with you. I think you were covering the game, and I thought he batted beautifully. I thought what a good player he was.
Yeah, well, he's really starting to come into his own, especially in T20 cricket. Now got picked up in the ILT20 in the winter out in the Emirates.
44 for 4, Coles in again, bowls to Price down the leg side. That signal is a wide, taken by Simpson. One more to the total, 45. Going up right here, 45 for 4, there we go. Run rate required 9.8 and over. Coles in, bowls, Price hammers that one away for extra cover. That's going to be 4 runs. That was a full toss. James Coles will be disappointed with that. They talk about getting out of an over, but that was a full toss and it was belted away by Price. He goes to 12, and at the end of the 7th over, Gloucestershire are 49 for 4. At the same stage, Sussex were 58 for 3. Oh, what's all the excitement about?
Oh, I think they're firing T-shirts.
There we are.
Crowd.
Yes, they are, I think. Let's have a little look.
Free clobber always goes down well.
Yes, it does. Oh, everyone's very excited.
Yeah, they've got their...
Over here!
They've got their whatever that...
Over here, there we are.
Those crazy bits of headgear are called, with the extraordinary...
Is that Jamie, the media officer down there? I'm thinking, is that Jamie? I think it might be. Over here, mate.
I don't think it'll get through the glass. Sorry, into the commentary box. You have to beg for a leftover later on. Jack Carson into the attack and bowling to Charlesworth, who prods this one rather tentatively back to the bowler, and there's no run. But at least the 6 and the 4 in that previous over from Ollie Price has maybe just given Charlesworth, even if it's only 4 or 5 deliveries, it's maybe just got to have a little bit of a look. Carson in, he's not having a look, he's blasting it down the ground, he's going to be caught comfortably at long on, and that's another wicket. 49 for 5, and Gloucestershire are throwing wickets away here. Charlesworth goes for 2, and didn't have much of a look at Carson, didn't really get to the pitch of the ball. Again, it's just a very simple catch. We've seen quite a few which have just been straight to fielders, and he's, there's areas wide of that fielder towards mid-wicket. If he drags it, you could hit it straight, but he's just gone right down the fielder's throat. Yeah. It's 49 for 5.
Yeah, and I was saying what a good player I thought Ben Charlesworth was the last time I saw him here. He's clearly very stylish, but as in 1 or 2 shots and no names, no pack drill, but you have to include Ben Charlesworth in that, who have played, I think, poor shots in the game from both sides, actually.
Yeah, and it's the option as well, isn't it? As we mentioned in that Coles, I don't go back to it again, but the partnership between Coles and Allsop, what they did was they selected their shots really well, and conversely, for the most part in this innings, Gloucestershire are trying to pick deliveries out that either aren't quite there for the shot, or they're there for another shot other than the one that they've selected. So 49 for 5, and Carson strikes second ball, and James Bracey comes out, and this really is Gloucestershire's last really recognised pairing of batters now. He gets off the mark with a drive down to long off, makes it 50 for 5.
I mean, I would have thought that, batting sensibly here, 1s and 2s, you could probably pick up 7, 8 and over. Keeps you in the hunt, doesn't it? And then, someone down the bottom end of the order, maybe a Taylor comes in, and you never quite know. Could still happen.
Carson to Price, reverse sweeps, top edges it, gone high in the air, and another wicket. 50 for 6, and Gloucestershire are falling in an ugly heap here. It's been a while since we've seen Gloucestershire really crumple like this, but they are in serious danger, not only of not batting out their overs, but also not even getting to the 3-figure mark. And Price has tried to reverse sweep the ball that Carson has speared into leg stump. It's clearly a premeditated shot. It is an option that Ollie Price likes to go to, but he's going against the spin, against the angle, and trying to reverse sweep a ball that is outside leg stump. And to be honest, there's very little that's going to happen with that, even with somebody of Price's ability and his ability to play those sorts of shots. If it's outside leg stump, it's a serious effort to try and reverse sweep it straight up in the air. Simpson takes the catch, and well, I think the Gloucestershire supporters, you almost wouldn't blame them for leaving the ground early. I know you'd never do that, because you should always see a game out, but 10 and over needed, and only 4 wickets in hand, and Matt Taylor to the crease as really a member of the bowling group. So Carson into Taylor, who pushes into the offside for no run. I'd be so intrigued to hear what Tamal Mills, or whoever you speak to after this game, has to say about this, because I'd be so interested to know what they felt about that total at halfway. I mean, it's clear and obvious to anyone this is not a 50 for 6 pitch. As Taylor flicks into the onside, we'll just take the one out to deep mid-wicket. That ends an over, which has seen as many runs as wickets. 2 runs, 2 wickets. Gloucestershire 51 for 6. And, you know, I don't know. You see a lot of wickets falling, batters trying to get themselves set. And to be honest, it really was, well, Daniel Hughes batted well for a 30-odd, but it's basically only those 2 batters who we've mentioned several times who've got the measure of this.
In fact, Gloucestershire have lost 5 for 32. So it almost mirrors the Sussex collapse. But it's never over. You never know in T20 cricket. Nathan McAndrew, big, tall, strong Australian. Excuse me. Coming into the Sussex attack, he's going to be bowling to the right-handed Matt Taylor. 51 for 6. McAndrew in, bowls. Taylor eases this one away through the covers, picks up a single, fielded out there by Harrison Ward. Gets in a not very good throw that John Simpson makes light of behind the stumps. And it's just one more to the total. 52 for 6 here on BBC Radio Sussex, BBC Radio Gloucestershire and Bristol. You may be watching on the Sussex live stream. If you are, a very good afternoon. So a gorgeous June the 1st here at Hove. Sussex making 173 in their 20 overs. We did wonder if that wasn't enough, having been 147 for 3. But at the moment, Sussex clearly on top. McAndrew in, bowls, and played onto the leg side by Bracey. Picks up 1, they think about 2, but there isn't a second one there because Ward is very quickly in from mid-wicket to field. 1 more to the total, 53 for 6.
And any single to Bracey as the top order batter. Bracey was coming in at 3 last year, but any single to him is almost as good as a dot, because they'll be wanting to bowl at Matt Taylor and the remaining bowlers as much as possible.
McAndrew makes his way in and bowls and drives nicely through the offside, followed by Curry, throws at the stumps, misses, but good backing up by Tom Alsop, and it's just a single. It's very difficult from here, isn't it? Because Gloucester, I'm sure Bracey's thinking, and Taylor, well, let's just pick up the 1s and 2s and just see where it takes us, just try and take it deep and maybe hope they can have a big over at the end. That's, I would imagine that's what Gloucestershire are going to try and do. They seem pretty pointless swinging at this stage. The run rate required is 10.4 and over. So, it's, you know, it's not out the question. They just haven't got the wickets in the bank. McAndrew in, bowls to Bracey. That's a full toss on leg stump, and he's rather lucky to get away with that. Played it straight to Ollie Robinson, who's on the edge of the circle at short fine leg, and there is no run. Ollie Robinson, 3 overs, 1 for 11. So he's got 1 to bowl. Brad Curry, 1 for 18. He's got 2 to bowl. Tamal Mills still got 3 up his sleeve. Plenty of options for Tamal Mills in the bowling department. McAndrew Around the wicket, bowls, pulled away onto the leg side by James. That's a good shot, and that's going to be 4 runs. Nothing wrong with that little short arm jab and pulled the ball away through mid wicket. It was a bit of a long hop from Nathan McAndrew, who scratches away at the crease. Good shot by Bracey. He goes to 6. It's a welcome relief for Gloucestershire.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we've seen it through both innings now. The key to these cross-batted shots is not to try and hit him too hard. I think he was happy just to hit that along the ground. And the outfield is so fast, you could just use that.
McAndrew in again, bowls. Bracey defends down the ground and picks up a single because Brad Curry has to come running in and comes charging in from long on to make sure it is just the single. So it is the end of Nathan McAndrew's over, an over that cost 8 runs at the end of it. Gloucestershire are 59 for 6. By comparison, Sussex was 72 for 3. So
yes, I think
13 runs more.
I think we can maybe throw the comparisons out of the window, because there's absolutely no way that Gloucestershire will be catching up to Sussex, even in the dream scenario, until the final 4 or 5 overs. I mean, the required rate of 10.5 over 11 overs is not out of the question, but wickets have just been lost, as there's a leading edge to start this new Carson over. Falls short of extra cover, Bracey on strike. But it hasn't been as though there's been the desperation to score as quickly as Gloucestershire have tried. Carson in, cut away by Bracey, well in front of square. They will run the first one as quickly as they can, but it's not able to be turned into a second run, and it is 60 for 6. And what can you say, really, in terms of the competition? Net run rate can be important. It's always important to lose by as small a margin as possible. At what point do you actually just start thinking, well, we've just got to try and put some sort of a score on the board to limit the damage? Carson in, Matt Taylor down the ground he goes. It's 1 bounce and 4 runs. That's an intelligent shot, because it's right in between the 2 fielders down there. And although he didn't get it out of the middle, he knew full well that he had quite a bit of margin there as far as going straight. Both long on and long off were quite wide, particularly long on, and he's just picked the gap well there. 64 for 6. Carson bowls to Matt Taylor, who gently pushes this down the ground and takes the single. 65 for 6. So, well, for Gloucestershire in this innings, the top scorer, Miles Hammond, on 24. Ollie Price made 12. Everybody else in single figures. Carson bowls. Bracey slog sweeps. That's gone a long way. That might hit the clock. No, not quite. It's just gone square. But beautifully struck by James Bracey on the slog sweep, comfortably clearing that boundary. 71 for 6.
Yep. Nice shot, wasn't it? Pulled away.
It was quite floaty from Carson, that one. I mean, he knows in this situation that he's got licence to toss it up. So I don't think you'd mind that too much at this stage, but he did really float that one up there for Bracey, and again picked the delivery, picked the length, and got value for it.
I mean, these two would know, wouldn't they, Ed? I mean, there is a relatively short boundary on one side. It's 10 and over. It's the wickets column that's against Gloucester, but if these two bat sensibly and take it deep, you never quite know.
Carson to Bracey, drives towards long off, and again that's good batting from Bracey. It's the last ball of the over, so Bracey will want the strike for that next over. And well, having said we can ditch the comparisons, I'm about to do it, because there's only 9 runs difference, and you had a set partnership going in Sussex's innings. And, well, you know, you don't like to sit here and be too negative and criticise, because nobody's going out there trying to get out, but they have just thrown this away, Gloucestershire.
No, I think there've been 1 or 2 poor shots on both sides, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Someone who's not playing poor shots today is Joe Root. He's 128 not out for England, who are 241 for 5 in the one-day international, needing another 68 from 10 overs. In comes James Coles, bowls to Bracey, who thumps that one away through the covers for 4 runs. It's a quality shot, and he's a quality player, James Bracey. Not a great delivery, I don't think, by James Coles, really. It's a little bit short and just hammers that one away for 4 runs.
Sorry, Armsy, you just certainly don't want to be bowling wide to that short offside boundary. It's just impossible to protect it.
Bracey to 90, 76 for 6. Cole's in again, that's better. And Bracey wristily plays it onto the onside. There'll only be a single to Harrison Ward. He's a very fine fielder and very quick in from the boundary. Throws on the bounce to Simpson. One more to Bracey. He goes to 20, 77 for 6. So immediately, Gloucester have got 5 off the first 2 balls. You know, they might think if we can get 7 or 8 off this over, it just keeps them in the hunt. Cole's in again, bowls, and played through the offside by Taylor. Picks up another single. He goes to 9, the total to 78 for 6. If you're just joining us, live cricket here on the BBC. Sussex making 173 super innings from Tom Alsop, who made 58. Coles in and bowls, clipped away by Bracey onto the leg side. They're looking for 2, but there's certainly not another one here because again Ward is in very, very quickly from the boundary. Gets in the throw to Simpson, not the best throw, but Simpson, as every good wicket-keeper does, makes light of it and collects it on the half volley. Just a single, 79 for 6. Coles again, bowls, and down the wicket, stumped. Good bit of bowling by James Cole, just a little bit wider. He tempted Matt Taylor to come down, he threw the kitchen sink and it missed past the outside edge. And John Simpson didn't need to be asked twice. He whips off the bails and the 7th wicket goes down. And just as you began to think maybe Gloucestershire are giving themselves a squeak, Cole's good bit of bowling actually, wasn't it? Just a little bit wide,
Yeah.
Simpson doing the rest.
Whether he saw him coming,
Possibly.
I don't know, but if he did, it was the perfect ball to bowl really, because he not only did he bowl it short and wide so that Taylor was having to play a shot which a lot of lower order batters don't really play, which is the cut shot from halfway down the pitch in order to save themselves, but I think he also, and again whether this was just serendipity, but he just put a bit more tweak on that so that it dropped and then bounced. And Melissa on commentary earlier mentioned the extra bounce that you get up the slope, and that also caused it to pop over the top of the bat.
Well, the new man is Payne, who pulls his first ball for 6. James Cole bowls a half tracker, and Payne just leads back and smashes the ball over long on for 6. Well, that was nonchalant, wasn't it? It's gone many a mile. So that concludes James Cole's over. Don't quite what to make of that.
No.
85 for 7 at the end of the 11th. At the same stage, Sussex were 97 for 3. So in terms of runs, there's not a lot between them really. It's just the wickets.
Yeah, it just continues to underline the point really that Gloucestershire seem to have gone very hard very soon, and well, yeah, 10 runs and over. David Payne's strike rate for the season now, by the way, is 467, so it's actually gone up.
Well, perhaps
where it was the other evening. He hit the last 2 balls of the game against Kent for 4, and he's hit his first ball for 6. So 89 required from 9 overs, and they've gone back to seam, which felt as though they were probably going to. And Bracey thrashes a pull shot to deep backward square, and just the 1 run is added. But you know, they actually don't have to bowl any more spin now. So even though, yes, there've been a couple of expensive overs, or more expensive overs than the spinners, they've still been picking up wickets, and now they can just go the entirety the rest of the way with seam if they so choose.
Yes, they can. Mills has got 3 to bowl. Robinson 1, that's 4. Curry's got 2, that's 6. And McAndrew's got 3. Gives you a 9. Good spot, Ed.
Mills, almost equine start to his run as he bowls now to Payne, who very disappointingly just nudges a single through the covers. Not because it wasn't the absolute right thing to do, which it was, but because his strike rate's going to come down. It's 87 for 7. Again, just really nicely played by David Payne.
Well, it was, wasn't it? I often wonder when a bowler plays a shot like that, whether he's always sending a message to the dressing room saying, look, you know, this is how to play.
I'm sort of thinking in terms of, at this stage, would the career bests of all the remaining batters achieve what Gloucestershire are after? Mills in, slower ball, worked leg side by Bracey, they'll just jog through for 1. 88 for 7, 86 required from 51 balls.
Tom Smith can bat, can't he?
Yes, he can, yeah, and what Tom Smith would probably go out there to do is really just look to rotate the strike.
Yeah.
He's got an extraordinary record, Tom Smith, of being not out as well, which I'll get to. As and when he bats, I think it's quite likely.
I think it's likely he'll bat, but you never know.
David Payne facing up to Mills. Again, open stance, massively open stance for Payne, and he just plays this one back to the bowler. I think he's probably just glad to have got some bat on that, because with that open stance, Jamal Mills is possibly seeing some more flying timber in his mind's eye as he's running in and bowling at him.
I mean, these two would have played each other a fair amount, wouldn't they, in various tournaments around the world.
Yeah. Well, in fact, actually, David Payne was Jamal Mills's injury replacement when Payne won the Big Bash with the Perth Scorchers.
See, your knowledge is fabulous. Well done,
So
Ed.
you've got that connection between them. But as you say, I'm sure they would have been either teammates or opponents. All sorts of leagues. Mills bowls, slow ball bowled him! There goes middle stump, and Gloucestershire 88 for 8. And you can't really blame the bowlers at this stage. When you're facing a bowler like Mills as a lower order batter stroke tail ender, when you're expecting the ball to be coming at you at 90 miles an hour and it comes at you at 65, that trademark back of the hand slower ball from Mills into the pitch, it just completely stops dead. Payne threw the shot way too early, and Gloucestershire lose their 8th. Jamal Mills has his 2nd, and that is his... No, it's not, sorry, I'm just unable to read figures off a screen. The 9... Oh, I thought it was a 9, it was a 5, so apologies.
Well, it looks like Aman Rowell is coming out ahead of Tom Smith.
Well, I would love to be able to tell you something about Aman Rowell's batting, but I can't.
Right, that's okay.
So we'll find out, I suppose. It's not the easiest task as somebody 6'6" facing up to Jamal Mills when he could just decide to fire in a toe-crushing Yorker at 90 miles an hour.
Yes.
Or at least high 80s. He's got one ball to negotiate, as this is the final ball of the 12th over, so if you can just keep it out, I think that's all Gloucestershire can be happy with. Mills runs in, bowls its back of a length, and Rao will actually get off the mark there, so probably not a bad result for Sussex, really, because it means that Rao will keep the strike at the end of the over, but he gets his first run in T20 cricket. 89 for 8, it's 85 required from 8 overs, but only Tom Smith left in the shed for Gloucestershire. But at least a day that Aman Rao will remember, because he did pick up his first professional wicket, that of Jack Carson in the first innings, and a chance to show what he can do with the bat, I suppose.
Just looking around, actually, it's not a bad attendance. Other stands at the far end look about half full. Over on the side there, there's a, it's pretty packed in, aren't they? Interesting to see what the attendance is, but what we are going to see is Nathan McAndrew, who's going to come in from the C end of the ground to bowl to the right-handed Aman Rao, tall man, as McAndrew is on his way. Over the wicket bowls, and Rao's beaten outside of the off stump, taken by John Simpson, and there is no run. The run rate required is 10.8 and over, but really you feel it's sort of Bracey or bust for Gloucestershire, really. He needs to get himself on strike, but even if he can, it's an awful lot of runs to score. Gloucestershire currently going on at 7.3 and over.
Yeah, trying to score at 10s when you've got a tail ender at the other end is pretty much impossible.
McAndrew in bowls, and Rao just places defensively onto the onside. There is no run, so you'd expect from here Sussex, Sussex will kick themselves if they don't win from here. It'll be 2 out of 2 for Sussex. Continue what's been a good start to the season, with the county championship form, winning 3 of the first 7. Good to see Tom Haynes in the runs for the England Lions, making 171. So at the minute, all is well down at Hove. They need to make sure they see this out, but as I say, I think they'll be mightily disappointed if they don't. And 2 more home games to come off the back of this. In comes McAndrew bowls, and Rao defends into the offside, and there is no run. Somerset and Glamorgan to come in the next. No, not Somerset. Yeah, Somerset. They've got 3 home games to come here before they go away again. They've got Somerset, Glamorgan, and Essex all here at Hove before a trip to Wales to play Glamorgan. And then a trip to the Oval. So,
well, it's an opportunity really to get ahead in the competition.
Well, it is absolutely, yeah, because certainly further down the line they've got a couple of trips. They've got that trip I think to Cheltenham late on, and then they're back here the next day to play Surrey, and those games are a nightmare, aren't they? When you're playing one night, then driving back from the West Country, and you've got a game again. So, yeah, absolutely a real chance to get ahead. McAndrew. Makes way in bowls. Rail pulls away, and he's going to be caught by James Coles at mid-on. There we go. Nathan McAndrew picks up a wicket, and the 9th wicket goes down, and the man now is caught by James Coles, and he is on his way for just a single. And Gloucestershire are 89 for 9.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's decent bowling from McAndrew, isn't it? You're bowling to a number 10, but he's faced 3 dots. If you put the short ball there, he's probably going to have a go, thinking, I've got to do something here, when really all he has to do is get Bracey on strike and see if Bracey can find a miracle. But again, it's easy to say that the fault is not with the bowlers, it's with the shot selection from earlier on. I mean, I think Gloucestershire will say that there has been a little bit of variation in the height that some of the balls have been coming through, but it hasn't been anywhere near drastic enough to be 89 for 9. I think what it does prove, though, is that actually 170 odd was still a pretty decent score.
It was a very good score. Yes, it was. I mean, I said to someone, what do I know? I was getting my lunch, and I said to someone, perhaps they're 15 or 20 short here, Sussex, but clearly not. McAndrew in, bowls to Tom Smith, who defends down the track, and there is no run. And you did call it, to be fair to you earlier on, you said you wondered whether perhaps there was a little bit more than we thought. But certainly the way that Coles and Allsop batted, it just looked like a dream of a pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been one of those surfaces, perhaps, and you can say this maybe a little bit across 2 innings, where you have to get in on it. There is that slight variation when you're playing those cross-batted shots that you've got to face a certain number of deliveries to get used to, and some batters haven't given themselves that time.
McAndrew in, bowls to Tom Smith, who plays it defensively onto the onside off the back foot, picks up a single, and that deprives Nathan McAndrew of a wicket maiden. However, Sussex will be content enough at the end of the over. Gloucestershire are 90 for 9, with Bracey on 23, Smith is on 1. The required run rate for Gloucestershire now is 12 and over, and that's not going to be easy with McAndrew, Robinson and Mills all with overs up their sleeve.
Well, I suppose the only crumb of comfort for Gloucestershire is at least they aren't going to achieve their lowest score in T20 cricket today, 68. That was. No prizes for guessing who the opponents were on that day. Of course it was Hampshire, although not actually at the Utilita Bowl. But that is where Gloucestershire are off to next. They've got a bit of a break, which they'll have a bit of time to, I suppose, get in some really targeted T20 practice. But 90 for 9 in the 14th over, just starting now. Smith at least gets off strike quickly this over, just nudges one towards cover and sprints through. 91 for 9. He is a nudger and a nurdler, is Tom Smith. It's unlikely that he is going to be clearing the front leg and trying to clear the boundary. They've at least got to give themselves as much opportunity to score runs as possible. I mentioned that record of being not out, Tom Smith. He's been not out in 45 of his 67 innings.
Wow.
Which is quite some ratio.
It is.
He's watching as Bracey faces now, and Mills bowls a short ball. It's left outside the off stump because it's just too wide, according to umpire Burns.
Wins in the Southern Group today for Somerset, who have convincingly won at Chelmsford by 8 wickets. Essex making 148, Somerset 149 for 2 in 15 overs. So that's
tough
pretty...
start for Essex.
Yes.
They've lost their first 2 quite convincingly.
81 there from Will Smead. And Glamorgan beating Middlesex by 5 wickets at Merchant Taylor's School. Low scoring game, Middlesex 124 for 9, Glamorgan 128 for 5.
So Middlesex 0 from 2, and Glamorgan have won their first game. 82 required from 41 with the last pair at the crease as Bracey scythes at that one and rather miscues it towards deep backward square. They'll just take the single. It is 93 for 9.
And England looking odds on to win the ODI. Joe Root 145 not out, Will Jacks 48 not out. Those two coming together when England were 133 for 5. Now 272 for 5, needing 37 to win in 7 overs. So
what an effort that is from Root especially, but Jacks obviously keeping him company. And you look at the innings, actually, Jacks 49 off 56 balls with only 2 fours, but he's clearly played the sort of knock I'm afraid to say, try not to rub it in too much, but the sort of knock that we haven't seen anybody from Gloucestershire play here. Mills bowls, slow ball, chipped in the air, game over. Caught at mid-wicket, Tom Smith is the last to go, and Sussex have marmalised Gloucestershire. They've beaten them by 80 runs, and they have bowled them out for a paltry 93. And for Gloucestershire, that is an absolute stinger. They are 0 from 2. They lost their first one narrowly and played some pretty decent cricket at times. And actually, again, at times here in the field, particularly the effort to drag Sussex's first innings score back from 147 for 3 to 173 all out. And actually I thought they bowled pretty well in the power play as well. 53 for 3 Sussex were at that stage. Lost it a bit in the middle overs of that first innings, but it has been a batting performance to absolutely forget if you're a Gloucestershire supporter, because only 2 batters have made 20, only 3 batters have made double figures. The innings has been littered with regrettable dismissals, and Gloucestershire are going to need this time before this coming Friday when they take on Hampshire at a venue where they've never won in T20 cricket, and trying to avoid being 0 from 3. Congratulations to Sussex though, because we weren't sure what to make of that total at halfway. They proved it was miles too many.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to find out. We'll go and do some post-match interviews, and I'll try and speak to Tom Alsop this evening. Good to see Tom in the runs with a very good 58. I did wonder with that Sussex collapse, losing 7 for whatever it was, 26 or whatever it was, whether it did look a good pitch, and I think there were some rash shots on both sides. But Sussex bowled very well, they caught well. I thought there were some poor shots on the Gloucestershire side as well, and Sussex off to a good start. 2 wins out of 2, it doesn't get any better than that really. And Gloucestershire still looking for their first win, but lots of time to go, and we see it so often in this competition, don't you? You lose your first 3 or 4 and then you win 5 in a row, and but I think it does take the pressure off slightly, doesn't it? When you win a couple, if you lose one, it's not quite so important. But if I guess Paul Farbrace will just be saying, well, let's keep the winning run going.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, when you're carrying that confidence from 4-day cricket into blast cricket, and I'm not saying Gloucestershire aren't either, because they've played some good 4-day cricket recently, but when you're on a roll like Sussex are, you just want to keep it going, don't you? And they, when I suppose, going back to the second half, or actually maybe the final quarter even of Sussex's innings, when everything's going well and you fall in a bit of a heap like they did at the end of their innings, I think it's easier to pick yourself up and say, all right, 173, we'll defend that. Whereas if you're a bit low on confidence, that's when you can start to just spray it about a little bit maybe with the ball and give Gloucestershire a few tempting deliveries to try and hit away, but they didn't do that, and Gloucestershire, with the exception of Hammond and Bracey there, who got into the 20s, there's very little to talk about really as far as the batting's concerned. They hit a lot of balls straight to fielders, and it never looked like dropping the catches. There were some fairly tame dismissals.
They were. So we'll go get some post-match reaction. Thank you for listening, whether it's on the BBC website or whether it's on the Sussex stream. Big thanks to Ed, and look forward to seeing you, Ed, down at Cheltenham, which I think is coming up in July. In terms of T20 cricket on the BBC, well, of course, it continues over the next few weeks. Sussex next in action here against Somerset. If you're not coming to the game, you can listen to the game live on the BBC. As Ed was saying, Gloucestershire next in action at Utilita Bowl, just down the road in Southampton on Friday. So thank you for listening. A good win for Sussex by 80 runs, 2 in a row for the Sharks, 2 defeats on the spin for the current T20 holders. From myself, Adrian Harms, and Med Seaborn, thanks very much for listening, and we'll speak to you again in the not too distant future.